Chapter 178. In the pitch-black space, there were only two blood-red eyes. Suddenly, a white figure appeared in this space. It was the snowy cat. The snowy cat instantly turned into a cat with a female body and a cat head. She was wearing a snow-white tights, revealing her sexy body. The snowy cat was also a divine beast, a top existence among demonic beasts. At this moment, the snowy cat was very respectful. "My lord." The two blood-red eyes looked at the snowy cat. "Little Snow, is Long Yin and Hongwuan 6, in 9 heavenly tribulation coming soon?" "My lord, Hongwuan 6, in 9 heavenly tribulation will come in 3 months. But Long Yan's hasn't been sensed yet." The snowy cat said respectfully. "Have the people of the Blue Dragon Temple been dealt with?" The snowy cat smiled, a trace of blood red flashing in her golden eyes. "My lord, they've all been dealt with, no one is left alive." "Very good." Suddenly, the blood-red eyes closed and disappeared in the pitch-black space. The untainted land was boundless and luxuriant. The higher-ups of the 6 great powers were advancing rapidly towards the depths of the untainted land. At the same time, the leaders ordered the troops near the deep cave to gather there. As the higher-ups of the 6 great powers, they were naturally very fast. At this moment, the black stick had become as thick as a tree trunk. Ho Fei sat on the black stick and said to Qingyu with a smile, "Big brother, you're too awesome." Sister Li Er also wanted to broaden her horizons this time, but you persuaded her to stay in the mansion. Qingyu had a trace of a smile on his face. This time, they were going to explore the deep cave in the untainted land. Li Er also wanted to explore the cave with Qingyu after knowing about it. Qingyu knew that although Li Er had supernatural powers, her cultivation was too weak. Moreover, the deep cave was too dangerous. Qingyu tried every means to persuade Li Er. As such, the Star Pavilion sent 3 pavilion masters to the deep cave this time. "Monkey, Big Brother is doing this for the good of Sister Li Er." Kuroa's voice rang out. Ho Fei shook his head and said, "Do you think I don't know? But Big Brother absolutely doesn't need to worry about Sister Li Er's danger. Sister Li Er is the one Uncle Lon cares about the most. How could she not have a life-saving treasure on her?" Ho Fei was full of confidence. Qingyu smiled. No matter what, Qingyu didn't want Li Er to take risks. In the untainted land, there were mountains and ravines everywhere. Giant trees that were thousands of feet tall could also be seen. Numerous demonic beasts that had not yet reached the Jin Dan stage roared wantonly. The group of people shuttled through the air at an extremely fast speed, hurrying towards the east. After several days of hard work, Azure Dragon, Reverend Yen Su and Qingyu finally arrive at the deep and serene cave. At the moment, forces from everywhere have gathered in the deep and serene cave, except for the forces of the Stellar Tower and the Blue Dragon Temple. The forces of the Blue Dragon Temple have been wiped out. The forces of the Stellar Tower are only 100,000 li away from the Blue Dragon Temple. Given the power of those ordinary guards, it is simply impossible for them to arrive here in time. The forces of the Penglai Immortal Region, the Purple Flame Devilish Dungeon, the Blue River Province and the 9 Spirits Hall have all gone to meet their respective leaders. The deep and serene cave is located in a valley in a continuous mountain range. That cave is more than 10 m in diameter and is unfathomably deep. At the moment, that valley is full of people. Azure Dragon and the others are standing next to the deep and serene cave. This deep and serene cave indeed has the aura left behind by an immortal. Holy sense is useless, so we can only rely on our eyes. Azure Dragon has no doubts now. When he says these words, he has already set up restrictive spells in the surroundings to prevent his subordinates from hearing them. The others all nod their heads. Naturally, they have all discovered the miraculous features of this deep and serene cave and that familiar aura. Reverend Yen Su says loudly, "Everybody, this deep and serene cave looks very likely to be the place where the 9th Jade Sword is hidden. Now that we want to explore this cave, how should we do it? Should we explore it ourselves, or should we have a good discussion about it?" "Haha, I have no objection. Now I only have one subordinate, Tengshan. But there's nobody else." Azure Dragon says laughingly. Qingyu also nods. "You 4 can discuss it. My Stellar Tower's forces are still at the border of the wilderness, so they basically can't come here. I'm also like the master of the Blue Dragon Temple. You can decide how you want to explore it yourselves. Reverend Yin Su, Old Ancestor Three-Eyed, Di Long and Ida remained silent for a while. Take 1,000 people down there to test the waters, Ida says coldly. The other three ponder for a while then also nod their heads. They all know that most of those ordinary subordinates are at the Jin Dan stage, so their chances of survival in this place, where the 9th Jade Sword is hidden, are very small. All right, since that's the case, let's all gather our subordinates. After an hour, we'll start to enter this deep and serene cave, Azure Dragon says directly. The others also agree. Qin Yu, however, takes a look at that deep and serene cave. It is pitch black and bottomless. No one knew what was inside. After an hour, the other four powers each take 1,000 ordinary Zyationists and fly into the deep and serene cave one after another. But Qin Yu and Azure Dragon only have a few people with them. The core of the 6 powers is in the center of the group. The front and back are all ordinary Zyationists. This deep and serene cave is extraordinarily dark. Azure Dragon says with a cold humph. Even with my eyesight, I can only see several tens meters deep. Qin Yu says smilingly. The master of the Blue Dragon Temple is already very formidable. I can only see several tens meters deep, but those ordinary Zyationists can only see 2 meters in front of them. Even flying is frightening. Big brother, I can see as far as 1,000 meters. Ho Fei's holy sense voice rises in Qin Yu's mind. Qin Yu is startled then pleasantly surprised. In this pitch-black place, it is naturally a great thing that Ho Fei's power has reached such a high level. Huh. All of a sudden, everybody stops talking because they all hear that strange sound coming from the depths of the deep and serene cave like the sound of wind. In the blink of an eye, everybody's vigilance is raised to the highest level. There is wind in the underground. Big brother, it's dangerous. An astonishingly cold air is rushing up from underground. Ho Fei's voice rises in Qin Yu's mind. Be careful. There is cold air in the underground. Old Freak Three-Eyed's voice rises immediately afterwards. At the moment, his third eye is open all the time, shooting various green illusory rays of light into the depths of the ground. Qin Yu can clearly feel the extension of the cold air. Even though the body of the cold air has not arrived, Qin Yu already feels his skin going numb. Wherever the cold air passes, Zyationists are completely frozen to death one after another. They do not even have the time to scream. In particular, within the 10-odd meters that Qin Yu can see, Zyationists are frozen to death one by one, turning into ice sculptures. When the cold air gets close to Qin Yu and the others, Azure Dragon stretches out a hand. A green brilliance completely blocks in front of everybody. Even though the cold air is powerful, it is unable to break through Azure Dragon's obstruction. What the hell is this cold air? How could it be so powerful? Even Reverend Huation's face turns somewhat pale. Azure Dragon says with a solemn expression. Everybody, I think we're in big trouble. Qin Yu and the others all look at Azure Dragon. Hasn't the cold air been blocked? Why does he say it's big trouble? Azure Dragon thinks for a while then says with a sigh. Everybody, let me tell you something. This deep and serene cave is not what we thought it was. It's just a bit more difficult than other places where swords are hidden. The degree of suffering in this deep and serene cave may exceed your imagination. What do you mean, Azure Dragon? Old Freak Three-Eyed is somewhat impatient. Azure Dragon sweeps everybody with his eyes. I'll give you a reminder. At first we all thought this little danger would definitely not be able to hurt us. But now it seems that some of us will probably die here. Don't ask me why. Qin Yu gives Azure Dragon a look. But Qin Yu also knows that Azure Dragon is not like the others. Azure Dragon is a member of the Dragon Clan, so he knows many more things than ordinary people do. If you're not afraid, why should I be afraid? Of course I'll keep going forward. Old Freak Three-Eyed says smilingly. Ida, however, says with a cold laugh. Azure Dragon, are you deliberately bluffing us? Humph, you want us to retreat so that you can get the 9th Jade Sword. Ida's words are like sharp knives, not giving Azure Dragon any face at all. Azure Dragon's face turns cold. Humph, then let's go our separate ways. It's none of my business even if you die. Azure Dragon makes a wave of his large sleeve, enveloping himself and Tung Shan in a green light. The two of them then rush down first. Obviously Azure Dragon is already extremely angry. Just now he indeed warned everybody out of the goodness of his heart. But now he has ended up in such a situation. Fei Xiaohei, let's go. Qin Yu also gives a smile. The three brothers then rush down immediately after him. Those bodies down below have already been frozen into blocks by the cold air. Qin Yu and the others' protective energies smash those blocks of ice into smithereens directly. They either follow the passage made by Azure Dragon and Tung Shan, or crash into themselves directly. Ida, you've gone a bit too far. Reverend Yin Su reprimands Ida. Shut up, Yin Su. Have you gone senile? Don't tell me you don't know how powerful that Azure Dragon is. He's not much more powerful than us. I can see that he knows something. But even he dares to rush down with Tung Shan. Given our power, do you think we won't be able to get in? Ida is not a fool either. In his view, since Azure Dragon has dared to go down, it means that the danger level is not enough to threaten his life. Reverend Yin Su then understands. Still talking nonsense? Let's go quickly. Old Freak Three-Eyed rushes down first. Immediately afterwards, Qin Yu and Azure Dragon chase after him. Reverend Yin Su, Ida and Dilong also rush down at once. All the way down, those blocks of ice are smashed into pieces non-stop. The bottom is 1000 m below us. There's a black pool at the bottom. Beside the black pool is a horizontal entrance. I have a feeling that we can't go into that pool. Ho Fei's voice rises in Qin Yu's mind. Ho Fei's fiery eyes are really formidable. Ahead of them, Azure Dragon and Tung Shan are enveloped in a green light and fly extremely fast downwards. Because they are moving too fast, Azure Dragon's line of sight can only reach several tens m. When he sees that black pool, he hurriedly makes a turn, carrying Tung Shan. Azure Dragon makes a splash on the surface of the black pool, then enters the entrance on the side. Just by making a splash, more than half of the green light that was able to resist the cold air just now has been consumed. Qin Yu and the other two enter the entrance very smoothly. Naturally, Old Freak Three-Eyed has discovered this scene early on. Several cries of pain are heard continuously. Dilong is on guard all the time, but because his flying speed is relatively fast, and his line of sight is too short, he still touches the water of that black pool. Just by touching it, his body-protecting demonic elemental energy is corroded, and even part of his protective armor is corroded. Reverend Huatian is the most seriously injured of them all. Because he is too impatient, he unexpectedly corrodes his left arm, and is seriously injured. Be careful, all of you. Fly a bit slower. You must not touch the water of the black pool below us. Reverend Yin Su says loudly. Naturally, those ordinary Xiationists behind him can hear him clearly. Reverend Yin Su and the others also enter that entrance. Because of Reverend Yin Su's warning, the 2,000 to 3,000 Xiationists behind them do not suffer any casualties. Azure Dragons and Tung Shan's flying speed is not fast, because their line of sight is not far enough. However, because of Ho Fei's line of sight, Qin Yu and his two brothers are faster than Azure Dragon and Tung Shan. Before long, the three Qin Yu and his two brothers have caught up with Azure Dragon and Tung Shan. Brother Qin Yu, you'd better stay by my side. Azure Dragon says with a solemn expression. Qin Yu says doubtfully. Blue Dragon Temple Leader, what actually happened? Or, what did you discover? Tell me about it. In fact, Qin Yu also feels that Azure Dragon is not lying. Azure Dragon says with a shake of his head. Now it's just a guess. Even if I tell you, you don't know. You only need to follow me, and you'll be in much less danger. All right, then I'll have to ask you to protect my little life, Blue Dragon Temple Leader. Don't let me down. Qin Yu says jokingly. Ho Fei, however, mutters something. Kuro says nothing and stands quietly beside Qin Yu. The three Qin Yu's group of three and Azure Dragon's two brothers are flying almost side by side. Behind them, Old Freak Three-Eyed, Reverend Yin Su Dilong, Ida and the others, as well as that group of Xiationists at the rear, are all flying extremely fast. No good, watch out above. Azure Dragon suddenly shouts loudly. Everybody looks up and sees that there is unexpectedly a carving on the ceiling of this deep underground stone wall passage. It is a very large carving that is several thousand meters long. Qin Yu's face changes color greatly at once. This is a huge talisman seal. A black beam of light is seen flowing over that huge talisman seal that is several thousand meters long. The ceiling of that stone wall passage is made up of many sections of huge rocks that are connected together. Each of them is 100 m long and extremely heavy, especially after being affected by that huge talisman seal. The seal imprints on each of the huge rocks are flashing with a black light. Bang! 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 Many sections of huge rocks that are 100 m long unexpectedly fall down one after another. Huge rocks weighing more than 1 million jin are smashed down just like that. Moreover, the attacking power of these huge rocks is not only its weight, but also that mysterious black talisman seal energy. Logically speaking, there are several tens Zyationists who are 100 m long, so if the Zyationists at the rear go all out, they should be able to resist the weight of those huge rocks for a while. However, miserable cries immediately rise non-stop. The Zyationists at the rear are all smashed into meat patties without being able to resist at all. Blood flows all over the ground. Qin Yu, Azure Dragon, and the others also raise their hands to resist those falling huge rocks. However, as soon as they touch them, Qin Yu's face changes color greatly. Chapter 179. Each of these falling boulders is 100 m long and 6 or 7 m wide. As for their thickness, Qin Yu does not know. Qin Yu estimates that these boulders weigh no more than several million jin. However, the several tens ordinary Zyationists behind him working together are unable to resist them at all. End of B10C9. Qin Yu slightly bent his legs. His hands completely supported the 100-meter-long boulder. An extremely great pressure directly pressed down on his hands from the boulder. Qin Yu unconsciously bent his legs a little more. Z. A deep sound came from under his feet. Qin Yu's feet sank into the stone slabs on the ground. This was because sections of boulders were falling down at the same time in this passageway. The people bearing the weight of each section were different. Qin Yu, Hofei Kuro, Azure Dragon, and Tung Shan were at the front. Naturally, the 5 of them supported the weight together. The stone slabs on the ground were unable to bear the weight. The stone slabs under their feet either shattered or sank into the ground. So heavy! Hofei also cried out strangely. At this moment, Hofei was also supporting the weight with his hands. Xiaohei didn't say anything. His huge wings directly supported the boulder. The 3 brothers joined forces, and finally managed to completely support the weight of the boulder. Qin Yu couldn't help but be shocked. When he was cultivating external techniques, he had the strength of over 1,000 jin, with one hand, before reaching the Xiantian realm. When he reached the Xiantian realm, he could even lift a 10,000 jin boulder. As for the Nebula realm and Luxing realm, not only did their physical strength increase, the power of the stars in their bodies was also extremely powerful. Qin Yu alone was able to move several million jins of heavy objects. Hofei's strongest point was his strength. In terms of strength, he even surpassed Qin Yu. Xiaohei's strength was almost the same as Qin Yu's. The 3 of them joined forces to resist the boulder. One could imagine the weight of the boulder. Azure Dragon, why aren't you doing anything? Qin Yu angrily rebuked. At this moment, the 3 brothers were doing something. Azure Dragon, on the other hand, didn't do anything. Instead, he carefully looked at the talisman on the boulder. There's something strange about this talisman, Azure Dragon muttered to himself. Then he smiled at Qin Yu and said, "Not bad. Alright, you 3 can rest now." Azure Dragon shouted coldly. His hands suddenly turned into 2 huge dragon claws. His arms immediately thickened and dragon scales appeared. An extremely powerful force burst out from Azure Dragon's body. The powerful force even caused the air to vibrate. The 3 brothers, Qin Yu, Hofei, and Kuro, didn't feel any pressure at all. Azure Dragon alone was more powerful than Qin Yu, and his 2 brothers combined. The red light in Hofei's eyes flickered as he stared at Azure Dragon for a long time. Then, using his spiritual sense, he said, "Big brother, why didn't Azure Dragon do anything when the boulder fell? Could it be that he wanted to let the boulder smash us to death or injure us?" Qin Yu was silent for a moment, then transmitted, "Don't overthink it." Qin Yu also glanced at Azure Dragon. However, the blood on the stone floor of this passageway has already converged into a small stream. That is the blood of Xiationists. Given the terrifying pressure of that boulder, even Qin Yu and the other two brothers found it hard to bear, let alone several tens of Jin Dan stage Xiationists. At the moment, the miserable cries have gradually stopped. Because each boulder was 100 m long, the people under the same section of boulder naturally formed a group. Qin Yu and the other four were in a group. Behind them, Di Long, Di Jian, Di Su, Old Ancestor Three-Eyed and Luca happened to be under the same section of boulder. Ida, Situ Shui and Jiao Jiao happened to be smashed down by the same section of boulder. Reverend Yen Su, Reverend Huatian, Reverend Di Feng, and the 10-odd Xiationists following behind them were smashed down by the same section of boulder. Except for these few groups, the others were all killed. Damn it, how long will this boulder last? Break for me. The black stick in Ho Fei's hand fiercely smashes at the boulder. Needless to say, the black stick is very powerful. How can ordinary boulders possibly resist its power? Wherever the black stick goes, the boulder will naturally be shattered. However, as soon as Ho Fei's black stick hits that boulder, that talisman imprint flashes with a black light again. The surface of the entire boulder seems to be covered with a black light, which easily withstands the attack of Ho Fei's black stick. The boulder is not damaged at all. Oh! Ho Fei is shocked. Break! A shout rises. Azure Dragon's claws radiate dazzling light. Afterwards, the black light of the talisman is torn apart by his claws. Naturally, that boulder is shattered into countless pieces. In an instant, the boulder above Qin Yu's group of 5 disappeared. Qin Yu, Ho Fei and Kuro all look at Azure Dragon. Ho Fei's black stick attack cannot do anything to that black talisman, but Azure Dragon can tear it apart. The disparity between them is very obvious. However, Ho Fei has not transformed, so he cannot be considered to have used his full power. Whiz! A crack appears between Old Ancestor Three-Eyed's eyebrows. His third eye shoots out a green beam of light, which shoots through that black talisman directly. Afterwards, that boulder is also easily shattered into pieces by everybody. An astonishing sword ray suddenly appears on the surface of Reverend Yen Su's body. At the moment, his entire body seems to be wrapped up by a huge sword. Following a shout, that sword ray then shoots straight at the black talisman. The black talisman is also shattered. Ida's long purple hair, which reaches his buttocks, suddenly shoots straight upwards like many long needles. Poof! The black talisman's brilliance is pierced through by the long purple hair, just like a piece of paper. After these boulders are shattered, the entire passageway lights up completely. The original pitch-black state unexpectedly disappears. The pitch-black state just now should be due to that mysterious talisman. Azure Dragon says affirmatively. At the moment, even though there are a large amount of broken rocks on the ground of the passageway, they do not affect everybody at all. Qin Yu, however, casts his eyes at the 4 experts. The early Kongming stage Divine Beast Azure Dragon, the late Dongxi stage Divine Beast Old Freak Three-Eyed, the late Dongxi stage Divine Beast Ida, and the late Kongming stage Reverend Yen Su. Even though Azure Dragon has a slight advantage over these 4 experts, the other experts are almost on par with him. So powerful, Qin Yu thinks to himself. Qin Yu knows very well that among the 6 powers, the Stellar Tower is only slightly more powerful than the 9 Spirits Hall. The other 4 powers are overseen by these 4 super experts. However, if Uncle Lon is taken to be a member of the Stellar Tower, it is instead the most powerful. The Stellar Tower, Qin Yu, Ho Fei and Kuro, the Blue Dragon Temple, Azure Dragon and Tungshan, the Blue River Province, Old Freak Three-Eyed and Lu Ke, the 9 Spirits Hall, Di Long, Di Jian and Di Su, the Purple Flame Devilish Dungeon, Ida, Situ Shui and Jiao Jiao, the Penglai Immortal Region, Reverend Yen Su, Reverend Huatian and Reverend Di Feng. In addition, there are more than 10 surviving Xiationists behind the 3 of them. These are the surviving Xiationists. I think we should cooperate. If we keep fighting on our own like this, perhaps many of us will die before we even see the 9th Jade Sword. Reverend Yen Su says smilingly. Ida fiddles with his long hair and says with an evil smile, "Cooperate? If you're sincere, it'll be fine. But if you're not, at a critical moment, you'll launch a sneak attack, humph humph." After giving several cold laughs, Ida says affirmatively, "I'm still used to protecting myself. I'm not used to putting my life in the hands of others." "So am I." Old Freak Three-Eyed casts a disdainful glance at Reverend Yin Su. D Long, however, says, "I don't agree nor disagree. If you all agree, I'll agree too." What he is saying is nonsense. Since two of them have already disagreed, he is obviously not willing to say so. Qin Yu says nothing. "Let's keep going, Azure Dragon." Qin Yu says to Azure Dragon. Azure Dragon takes a look at the Zyationists behind him and says indifferently, "Be careful, all of you. I don't care who dies. If you're really worried about your lives, go back." After saying so, Azure Dragon leads Tung Shan and keeps going forward. Nobody retreats, including those 10-odd ordinary Zyationists. It is not that they do not want to, but that they do not dare to. The leaders of the 6 major powers can retreat, but their subordinates cannot. If they retreat, it will be like abandoning their leaders in danger, and they will be severely punished. This time, everybody is obviously much more careful. They observe the surroundings carefully and keep going forward. After walking along this underground passage for about several hundred li, they enter a special place, a cave that can accommodate 10,000 people. Apart from the entrance, the cave has 9 exits, each of which has a passageway so deep that the end cannot be seen. Of the 9 passageways, one leads to life, and the other leads to death. You must make a choice. Haha. If you want to get my treasures, you'll have to have the luck to do so. The walls of the cave have Qianlong continent characters. Each character radiates a terrifying aura, which is far stronger than the auras of divine beasts, such as Azure Dragon and Old Freak Three-Eyed. It can be said that they are not on the same level at all. Everybody looks at that wall. Pooh. Azure Dragon, Old Freak Three-Eyed, Ida and Reverend Yin Su all turn pale. They turn their faces upwards and spit out a mouthful of blood. However, Qin Yu and the others only feel that their hearts are oppressed and heavy. Those 10-odd ordinary Zyationists, however, do not feel anything at all. Azure Dragon and the other 3 immediately sit down with legs crossed. They no longer dare to look at that wall. All of them meditate and regulate their breathing. Of the 9 passageways, only one leads to life. Qin Yu frowns deeply. After a while, Azure Dragon and the others all stand up, but they no longer look at that wall. There is unexpectedly a hint of excitement in Ida's eyes. Various beads of blood ooze out of his lips. "Haha. I believe you won't doubt whether those characters on the wall were left behind by that immortal, will you? Of course there's no need to doubt them. The aura left behind by those characters was enough to injure us. If that's the case, it can only mean that the person who left those characters is an immortal. But look at those Jindan stage Zyationists." Azure Dragon points at those Jindan stage Zyationists. Everybody looks over. Indeed, those Zyationists are not affected by the characters on the wall at all. If the simple characters contain aura and pressure, naturally the weaker one's power is, the more he will not be able to bear it. This is the pressure brought about by the characters. Those with high power will be injured while those with low power will be less affected. This is a miraculous skill. At least I've never heard of it. This immortal is at least a golden immortal, or even a legendary. Azure Dragon stops talking. Obviously that is a secret. Don't talk so much nonsense, Azure Dragon. Now that there are 9 passageways here, which one should we take? Since the immortal said the other passageways are just ideas, given our power, if we choose the wrong one we'll die. Old Freak Three-Eyed says with an ice-cold face. Everybody's heart is somewhat heavy, given their power. Naturally they cannot create a miracle, if they are at least at the golden immortal stage. Therefore, they must choose the path of life from the 9 passageways. Only one path of life from the 9 passageways is too difficult to choose. Compared with the 9th Jade Sword, life is still more important. I don't want to waste time here. 6th brother, don't forget to go with us. After saying so, Di Long and Di Su turn around. Di Jian also immediately follows Di Long to go back through the passageway they came. Coward, Ida says with a cold laugh. Ah! Long's face suddenly changes color greatly, and he cries out in fear. Jin and Su also cry out in alarm. The others immediately look at them. At the moment, the three of them all look at the passageway they came from. Following their gazes, everybody else also looks at the passageway they came from. It does not matter if they do not look, but as soon as they do, their faces all change color greatly. At the moment, that passageway unexpectedly spins non-stop like a black hole. That black light flows out from it, and flows all around along the walls of the huge cave. No good. Azure Dragon, Reverend Yin Su, Qin Yu and the others all realize that something is amiss. In just a moment, that black light unexpectedly flows through all the walls of the cave. The entire cave has turned black. Only the 9 passages are not affected in the slightest. When they raise their heads to take a look, they see a row of characters floating in the air. Life or death? Haha. Ida suddenly turns his face upwards and laughs out loud. This immortal is really formidable. He left a message saying out of the 9 passageways, one will live and the others will die. We have to make a choice. Now we really have to make a choice. The passageway we came from is already gone. There are only 9 passageways left for us to choose from. Freak. Long gives Ida a cold look. Not everyone would be like Ida in this situation. Most of them wouldn't die, but now they have no other choice. Even the walls of the cave are floating with black light. That terrifying energy makes everybody tremble with fear. There are only choices. Life or death. Big brother, you choose. I'll follow you into whichever passageway you choose. Kaka, I really believe in your luck, big brother. Hofei laughs out loud towards Qinyu. At the moment, Kuro also looks at Qinyu. The look in his eyes is sharp, but Qinyu understands what it means. The 2 brothers both agree with Qinyu's choice. Only one of the 9 passageways is a life. The probability is too low. However, there is no way out. There is only choice. Qinyu clenches his teeth and casts a glance at the 9 passageways. Chapter 180. Which one should we choose? Qinyu sweeps his eyes over the 9 passages, looking at each one carefully. However, Qinyu discovers that these 9 passages are equally deep and bottomless, only slightly different in their curves. How can we choose? If Qinyu were alone, he would feel some mental pressure, but it would not be too great. But now he is shouldering the lives of Hofei and Xiaohei. There's basically no difference between the 9 passages. That immortal told us to choose, but he didn't give us any hints. How can we choose? The probability of death is too high if we choose 1 out of 9. Qinyu's calm mind gradually begins to become agitated. The more he looks, the angrier he becomes. What a shitty immortal. If he wants to give people jade swords, just give them. Why did he give us 9 passages to choose from? Moreover, there's only 1 passage of life. Beads of sweat ooze out of Qinyu's forehead. His eyes also gradually redden. Azure Dragon's expression is solemn. He looks very anxious. Old Freak Three-Eyed, however, is sitting with legs crossed. Reverend Yin Su, Reverend Huatian and Reverend Defeng are discussing something. Oh my, don't pull a long face, Azure Dragon. Long, you're so scared of death. You're really too weak. Reverend Yin Su, could it be you've got an idea? Haha. Qinyu, don't think about it. Can't you just choose any passage to go in? Ida says with an evil laugh. Qinyu gives him a cold look. Why don't you choose? Me. Ida says while fiddling with his long purple hair. Do you still need to ask this question? I'll wait for you to all choose. When you're all dead, won't I know which passage of life is? Idiot. Hofei says smilingly. Ida, you idiot. Don't you see that these 9 passages are all winding and bottomless? How can you know whether the people who go in will live or die? Besides, you don't have everybody's soul jade slips. Ida, there are so many of us. Could it be that we'll choose all 9 passages? Old Freak Three-Eyed opens his eyes and says. Ida, however, doesn't care at all. Three-Eye, what are you doing sitting here cross-legged at this time? Old Freak Three-Eyed laughs strangely. Since only one of the 9 passages is the way out, if I can't be 100% sure that it's the way out, I'll definitely not choose it. I'd rather practice quietly in this cave, until I pass the tribulation. Until the tribulation. Qinyu, Azure Dragon, Ida and the others all look at Old Freak Three-Eyed in disbelief. Even Reverend Yin Su stops talking and looks at him in disbelief. Old Freak Three-Eyed says with a cold laugh, "I don't believe that the 9 from 9th Heaven Tribulation can't break through this place. If it can't, that's good too. It'll let me pass through the 9 from 9th Heaven Tribulation easily." Old Freak Three-Eyed's words leave everybody speechless. But what Old Freak Three-Eyed said was indeed a method. But he had to be able to endure loneliness. Even if the 9 from 9th Heaven Tribulation can't break through this place, when I ascend, I'll directly ascend from this world to another world. This place won't be able to stop me no matter what. There is a hint of arrogance in Old Freak Three-Eyed's eyes. Once he ascends, no matter where he is, he will directly ascend from one world to another. Everybody is speechless. You're strong, Three-Eyed. Azure Dragon does not know whether to laugh or to cry. He has been practicing alone in this cave until the 9 from 9th Heaven Tribulation arrives. Not many Zyationists can endure loneliness in one place all the time. Throw a stone to test the waters, DeLong says coldly. His eyes, however, sweep over those 10 odd lucky Zyationists. Hearing his words, everybody's eyes brighten at once. That's right, throw a stone to test the waters. If experts like Tung Shan and Ho Fei were to try, it would be impossible. Now only those 10 odd Jean Dan stage Zyationists could do it. Help, Reverend. Knowing that the situation is bad, those 10 odd Jean Dan stage Zyationists immediately kneel down and say, "These 10 odd Zyationists are all from the Punglai Immortal region." Reverend Yin Su, however, frowns. With a wave of his hand, he divides the 10 odd Zyationists into 2 groups. He says with a sigh to those 9 Zyationists, "The 9 of you have to sacrifice yourselves. Make your own soul jade slips first." "Reverend, please spare us, Reverend." Those 9 Zyationists are extremely terrified and uneasy, but the look in Reverend Yin Su's eyes turns cold. Old Freak Three-Eyed gives them a cold look and says, "The 9 of you, listen up. In the name of the Blue River Province, I order you to quickly make your own soul jade slips and enter different passages. Otherwise all of you will die, and your schools will be destroyed too." The 9 Zyationists' faces change color greatly. The Zyationists dispatched from the Punglai Immortal region all live close to the Qianlong continent, so they are not core members of the Punglai Immortal region. They all belong to various schools. Old Freak Three-Eyed indeed has the power to destroy their schools. Obey my order. Only one of the 9 of us can survive. Otherwise, all of us will die. Good luck, my fellow Zyationists. A middle-aged man among the 9 kneeling Zyationists suddenly stands up and takes a look at Reverend Yin Su, Old Freak Three-Eyed and the others. His eyes are full of resentment. A piece of jade then appears in his hand. He quickly makes his own soul jade slip. In a short while, the other 8 Zyationists also stand up in succession. All of them are willing to die, so they have made their own soul jade slips. The leading middle-aged man collects the 9 Zyationists' soul jade slips, then gives them to Reverend Yin Su. The leading middle-aged man stares at Reverend Yin Su and says seriously, "Reverend, take care of them." Reverend Yin Su receives them expressionlessly. "Good luck, my fellow Zyationists. I'll take my leave first." The leading middle-aged man immediately goes into the outermost passage. "Good luck, my fellow Zyationists." Another Zyationists goes into the second passage. The Zyationists go into the passages one after another. Reverend Yin Su then places the 9 soul jade slips on the ground in order, which just happened to correspond to the direction in which the Zyationists go into the passages. Now the 9 Zyationists have all gone into the passages. These 9 jade slips are lying steadily on the ground. Azure Dragon, Reverend Yin Su, Ida, Qin Yu and the others are all looking at those 9 jade slips. At the moment, the 9 Zyationists have already disappeared into the depths of the passages. They can only rely on observing the soul jade slips to determine whether the Zyationists who went into the passages are dead or not. Pung. The second soul jade slip shatters. Immediately afterwards, the third soul jade slip also shatters, the fourth, the fifth. In just a while, the second to the 9th soul jade slips all shatter. Everybody's eyes brighten. They all look at the first passage. Looks like this first passage is the passage of life. DeLong says smilingly, "Why haven't you left, my fellow Zyationists? Don't tell me you want that ninth jade sword to be taken away by that Jean Dan stage Zionist? After saying so, Di Long goes straight into the first passage. Di Jian and Di Su immediately follow him. Peng, the first soul jade slip, which is the only one that has not shattered, now also shatters. The 3D brothers freeze in the blink of an eye, as if their acupoints have been pressed. They turn around to look in disbelief. That first soul jade slip has also shattered. At this moment, the 3D brothers are confused. Azure Dragon, Old Ancestor Three-Eyed, Qin Yu and the others are also confused. All 9 soul jade slips have shattered. Those 9 Zionists are all dead. What actually happened? Di Long cannot understand. Since the immortal left a message saying that one of the passages is the passage of life, it should be the passage of life. Why are all 9 Zionists dead? Following the shattering of the 9 soul jade slips, everybody does not know what to do again. Could it be that they have to test the waters again? Silence, the entire cave is terrifyingly quiet. All the experts are frowning. Kaka, you're all idiots. Ho Fei says smilingly. Only one of the 9 passages is the passage of life. That passage of life naturally leads to the 9th jade sword. As long as we can find out where the 9th jade sword is, we'll know which passage is the passage of life. Di Su, however, rebukes. If we knew where the 9th jade sword was, would we have needed to go through so much trouble? Idiot. Ho Fei says disdainfully. Qin Yu's eyes brighten. He looks at Ho Fei in disbelief. Fei, you're really smart. At this moment, Azure Dragon, Ida and the others also think of a solution almost at the same time. Azure Dragon says with loud and clear laughter. Ho Fei is really smart. Haha. Right, we only need to find the direction of the 9th jade sword. Reverend Yin Su, last time you used that secret method to find the 9th jade sword, but it didn't work. Try again this time. Qin Yu, Ida, Situ Shui, and the others all look at Reverend Yin Su. Reverend Yin Su is startled then bursts out laughing. I'm indeed old. This method is pretty good. Last time the 8 jade swords entered the wilderness in different directions. Something must have gone wrong. This time I'll try. Perhaps I'll succeed. After saying so, he sits down with legs crossed in midair. Everybody at the scene throws their jade swords at Reverend Yin Su one after another. At the moment nobody hesitates. At this moment, not only is the 9th jade sword concerned, but everybody's lives are also at stake. Who dares to play around? Reverend Yin Su executes the secret method again. The 8 jade swords are all connected to Reverend Yin Su's body. Various beams of light shoot out. Reverend Yin Su makes various hand signs with a solemn expression. Time goes by slowly. After a long time, sweat has appeared on his forehead. Everybody, it's a success. Reverend Yin Su suddenly exhales and says. The 8 jade swords then start to fly parallel to each other, heading straight for the first passage. The first passage? Qin Yu is astonished. The 3D brothers are also astonished. Everybody at the scene is also very astonished. Just now, when the soul jade slip corresponding to the first passage shattered, everybody lost hope. Now these jade swords automatically point out the direction. If the first passage is the path of life, why did the people who entered it die? Di Long asks in reply at once. Only one of the 9 passages is the path of life. If you don't choose the first passage, which one will you choose? Ida gives a cold laugh then takes the lead to fly into the first passage. At the same time, everybody takes back their flying swords. The 3 Qin Yu brothers, Azure Dragon, and Tung Shan enter the first passage right after them. Reverend Yin Su, Old Freak Three-Eyed, and the others also go in right after them. The 3D brothers have no choice but to choose this passage in the end. Nobody dares to relax. Even though the 8 jade swords have pointed out this passage, everybody is still very careful. After all, the Zionist who entered this passage has died, which means this passage is at least still dangerous. Only now nobody knows how dangerous this place is. Be careful, big brother. Ho Fei is now looking around with his fiery eyes, appearing very vigilant. Qin Yu nods too. At the moment he is also very vigilant. Xiao He on one side, following Qin Yu, sweeps around with his eagle eyes. In this passage, holy sense cannot be used at all. How can they check out the places set up by immortals at will? Ida is at the very front. Azure Dragon, Tung Shan and Qin Yu are almost the same. Behind them, Reverend Yin Su Dilong, Old Freak Three-Eyed, and the others are also following. These top-level figures representing the 6 superpowers of the overseas Xiuzhen world are all very careful at the moment. As time goes by, everybody's guess seems to be wrong, because there is no trace of the Zionist at all. Why can't we even find that Zionist's corpse? Qin Yu frowns deeply. If a Zionist is dead, there should be a corpse, right? However, everybody has been going forward for so long, but they have not even seen that Zionist's corpse. This is really strange. However, at this moment, whoosh whoosh, like a tide, a dark red tide rushes in extremely fast from the other side of the passage, completely filling the whole passage. No, it is not a tide but a flow similar to lava. There are even flames on the surface of this flow. Be careful of the underground blazing fire. Old Freak Three-Eyed's voice resounds through the passage. In just a moment, it has completely covered everybody like a tide. Those few Jin Dan stage Zionists, who are lucky enough to have not been thrown stones to test the way, are turned into flying ashes before they can even touch the underground blazing fire. Among the people present, the most relaxed one is Xiaohei. Inside the underground blazing fire, Xiaohei does not even need to use his protective demonic elemental energy. Relying only on his black wings, which are comparable to high-grade holy weapons, Xiaohei is protected by the feathers, so the underground blazing fire simply cannot hurt him in the least. As for the others, Disu Situ Shui, Jiaojiu, Reverend Huitian and Reverend Difeng, are in a slightly more difficult situation. However, Qin Yu and the other Zuyoists also use their protective energies to resist the blazing fire easily. Qin Yu, Azure Dragon, Tung Shan, Old Freak Three-Eyed, and the other Zuyoists all have extremely strong bodies, so even if their protective energies can only defend against more than half of the blazing fire, their bodies will not be affected by the blazing fire. However, the bodies of Xiuxianists and Xiamoists are weak, but at least they have not lost their lives. Everybody hurry up. Azure Dragon shouts loudly, then takes the lead to rush extremely fast towards the other side of the passage. Qin Yu, his 2 brothers, and the others all follow him extremely fast. In just a while, they have passed through the passage. Unexpectedly, there are no other attacks apart from the underground blazing fire. After going out of the passage, they see a luxurious main hall, which is much more luxurious than the main hall of an imperial palace. It is also much larger in area. The most shocking thing is that there are 2 huge divine beasts in the main hall at the moment. On the left is a 100 m long divine beast called Dragon Rocky Lion. It has a dark red body with 6 thick spikes on its neck, and a golden horn on its head. The surface of its whole body is like pieces of rock, and its defensive power is even greater than that of a divine dragon. On the right is a several tens m tall bird with a pair of huge wings. Its body is surrounded by flames, and its noble aura can be clearly felt. It is none other than the divine beast called Red Luan. In the main hall, a black-robed man is sitting. A snow-white kitten is lying on his lap. At the moment, this black-robed man is playing with a jade sword with his head lowered. Suddenly, he raises his head and smiles at the people who have rushed out of the passage into the main hall. At the moment, Azure Dragon, Qin Yu, Old Freak Three-Eyed, and the others are all looking at the scene in front of them in astonishment. The 2 divine beasts, the snow-white kitten, the black-robed man and that jade sword. The black-robed man says smilingly to the astonished people, "Everybody, let me introduce myself. I am the owner of the 9th jade sword, and also the controller of the 3 million li area in the periphery of the wilderness. Yenmo." Chapter 181. In a vast and luxurious hall, there were 2 huge mythological beasts on each side. The aura of the mythological beasts wantonly spread out. Even so, the black-robed man smiling in the hall gave off a much more oppressive feeling than the 2 mythological beasts. Meow. The snowy cat lying on the black-robed man's leg suddenly meowed softly. Suddenly, the dragon Rocky Lion and the Hongluan completely restrained their auras. The dragon Rocky Lion, who had restrained his aura, was like a small mountain at this moment. The flames on the surface of the Hongwan's body also slowly retracted into its body. On the contrary, the snowy cat's golden pupils swept over the crowd. An expert. Everyone's expression changed. The snowy cat's glance was enough for everyone to determine that it was definitely an expert, and a super expert at that. The snowy cat's tail swept, and then it closed its eyes and lay quietly on the black-robed man's leg. Yenemo. Azure Dragon looks at the black-robed man, his pupils contracting. The black-robed man Yenemo says smilingly, "Gentlemen, please don't be too reserved. I've already known about your recent actions in the wilderness. Come everyone, take a seat. Let's talk slowly. I have many things to discuss with everyone." At this moment, there was a row of stone chairs on both sides of the hall. Old Freak Three-Eyed gives a cold humph. He is the first one to go to the left, and sits directly in the first seat. Afterwards, Ida also takes a soft breath and says with a chuckle, Interesting. Things are getting more and more interesting now." While chuckling like this, he also sits down. As everyone took their seats, only two people remained standing. One was Azure Dragon, and the other was Tung Shan. Qinglong's expression was solemn as he stared at the black-robed man above him. Tung Shan stood beside Qinglong and followed Qinglong's lead. Suddenly, Azure Dragon says, "Yenemo, you're still using illusions in front of us. You're just deceiving yourself." The black-robed man grinned. "That makes sense." The black-robed man transformed in an instant. His human head turned into a dragon's head, and he now had the head of a dragon and the body of a human. The black-robed man's true form was a dragon. He had yet to pass the 9 from 9th heaven tribulation, so naturally, he could not completely transform into a human form. Illusory techniques could only be seen through if one's cultivation level was equal or higher. "You actually saw through my illusion?" Yenemo curiously looked at the Azure Dragon. This Yenmo's dragon head is black. Its dragon horns are even sharper, and its aggressiveness is even stronger than that of Azure Dragons. It was the Black Dragon. Among the Dragon clan, black dragons also belong to the category with extremely high attack power. Azure Dragon walked to the first seat on the right row and sat down. He smiled faintly and said, "Yenemo, your skill is so high that I, Azure Dragon, still don't have the ability to see through your illusion. However, I can still see the original body of that snow cat. It should be the divine beast Jichu." Qinyu was amazed. He had read so many cultivation books, so he naturally knew about Jichu. Jichu also had dragon blood, just like the dragon Rocky Lion, which was born from a dragon and a fiery Rocky Lion. "So what? You can see through my illusionary technique with just this?" Yenemo says with a smile. The Azure Dragon says, "Whether it's the dragon Rocky Lion, the Red Luan or Jichu, they're all divine beasts. Furthermore, the untainted land is a world of demonic beasts. If you are not a divine beast, even if your skills are high, it is impossible to make 3 divine beasts submit to you." Yenemo nods in agreement. "That's right. Divine beasts are arrogant. Even if other demonic beasts have high cultivation, divine beasts generally won't submit to them, unless the disparity is too great." The Azure Dragon continues, "That's why I judged you to be a divine beast. Plus, you said you were the controller of the periphery of the untainted land. But you're only in the periphery of the untainted land. I think you shouldn't have passed the 9 from 9th heaven tribulation. If even the controller of the periphery has passed the 9 from 9th heaven tribulation, I basically can't imagine the power of the experts in the periphery. Smart. I indeed haven't passed the 9 from 9th heaven tribulation," Yenemo says with a radiant smile on his face. "Since you're a divine beast and haven't passed the 9 from 9th heaven tribulation, of course you have a human body and a beast head. That's why I judged you to be using illusionary techniques." The Azure Dragon says affirmatively. Clap, clap. Yenemo smilingly claps his hands. "Not bad, not bad. I didn't expect the Azure Dragon to be so smart. All right, looking at everybody's expressions, you must have a lot of questions. Go ahead and ask." After saying so, Yenemo sweeps everybody with his eyes. The Black Dragon's head is even more ferocious than the Azure Dragon's. Even though the corners of Yen Mo's mouth are curled up into a smile at the moment, everybody still feels a bit apprehensive. The black dragon is a divine beast, so its attack power is even stronger than the Azure Dragon's. Moreover, its internal energy is even stronger than the Azure Dragon's. Actually, my internal energy is not very high either. I'm only at the middle Kongming stage. There's still a gap between me and the Dujia stage. Yen Mo says smilingly while gently stroking the snowy cat with one hand. The middle Kongming stage is not high? Qin Yu and the others are speechless for a while. This Yen Mo is a middle Kongming stage divine beast. The Azure Dragon is at the early Kongming stage while the Black Dragon Yen Mo is at the middle Kongming stage. In fact, the gap between them is not too big. If everybody joins hands, they will be able to suppress him. Brother Yen Mo, I want to ask you something. Ida says smilingly. Yen Mo says with a nod. Purple-haired Dungeon King of the Purple Flame Devilish Dungeon, Brother Ida, please ask. Hearing these words, everybody's heart is shaken. Obviously this mysterious Yen Mo, the controller of the periphery of the untainted land, knows everything about the overseas Xiozhen world. Even though they have never seen him before, now they can easily distinguish him. The enemy knew everything about them, but they knew nothing about the enemy. Ida continues. Just now Brother Yen Mo said you're the owner of the 9th Jade Sword. Could it be the Jade Sword in your hand is the 9th Jade Sword? But how does Brother Yen Mo know about the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion? Ida does not understand. Even though Yen Mo knows about the overseas Xiozhen world, the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion is a secret that only the leaders of the overseas Xiozhen world know. How does he know about it? Yen Mo says smilingly. Speaking of which, this matter is really very dangerous. Several tens of thousands li away from here is my Black Dragon City. When I learned that everybody had come to the untainted land, as the controller of the periphery, I naturally had to treat everybody with respect. Therefore, I ordered all Zuyoists who have reached the Jin Dan stage to gather around the Black Dragon City, the Black Dragon territory. Hearing this, everybody suddenly understands. Why have those formidable demonic beasts all disappeared? Turns out they were ordered by Yen Mo to gather in the Black Dragon territory. Of course, there was a bit of misunderstanding later. Recently a group of people still wanted to enter the Black Dragon territory despite being warned. Oh my, that subordinate of mine Long Yen has a rather bad temper. He unexpectedly attacked and killed those people. Even though it's wrong not to listen to the warning, isn't it too bloody to kill like that? Yen Mo looks at Azure Dragon while saying, Sir, it's my fault for being reckless. A deep voice rises in the main hall. Everybody looks at the source of the voice. It is none other than that dragon Rocky Lion, who is as big as a small mountain. Azure Dragon says with an indifferent smile. Brother Yen Mo, you don't need to blame Long Yen too much. It was indeed my subordinate's fault in this matter. He killed them all, so I won't complain. Even though he says so, everybody believes him in his heart. Don't change the subject. Ida says with a frown. Yen Mo says with a nod. Long ago, my subordinates discovered the peculiarity of this place. The entrance you entered was a deep and serene cave. Do you think there's only one? Everybody is startled. Could it be there is more than one deep and serene cave? There's not only one but 8. The entire 9th Jade Sword was arranged according to an extremely profound formation. Back then, I brought my subordinates in from another deep and serene cave. In the end, we also arrived at an empty cave. Faced with 9 paths to choose from, I threw a stone to test the waters. I sent out 9 of my surviving subordinates. 8 of them died, and 1 survived. I then entered the passage of life. Afterwards, I arrived at this place and obtained the 9th Jade Sword. Yen Mo smilingly points behind everybody. Everybody look behind you. There are exactly 8 passages of life. Of the 8 deep caves, there were naturally 8 caves, 72 passages and 8 passages of life. Oh, testing the waters, 8 died and 1 survived? Di Long says. Brother Yen Mo, you said one of your subordinates came back alive. But, we also tested the waters. But all the people who entered the 9 passages died. Why is that? Yen Mo gives a big smile. His smile is very strong. Logically speaking, those who entered the passage of life should be alive, but that Zionist died. This is because he was killed by my subordinates. Yenemo answers. Everybody's expression freezes. Now they finally understand why the people who entered the 9 passages all died. It was Yenemo who killed them. But this Yenemo has really gone a bit too far. By killing the person who entered the passage of life, isn't he forcing everybody to die? If it were not for the Jade Sword's method of exploration, everybody might have been forced to choose a passage to enter. Then they would definitely have lost more than half of their men. Old Three-Eyed says with several cold laughs. Yenemo, you've really gone too far. Aren't you trying to use the passages of death to kill us? I never thought you'd dare to say it out loud, and even dare to meet us here directly. Could it be you're not afraid of us ganging up on you? Azure Dragon, Ida and Reverend Yin Su all look at Yenemo. This includes other experts of the same level, such as Ho Fei and the somewhat weaker ones like Qin Yu, Kuro Di Long, Di Jian, Situ Shui, Jiao Jiao, Reverend Huitian, and Reverend Di Feng. All of them are combing stage experts. At this moment, everybody from the overseas Xiozhen world is undoubtedly on the same side. Haha, what, you still want to fight? Yenemo turns his face upwards and laughs out loud, not worried at all. That's right. If you join forces, you'll indeed be able to suppress me. But have you lost your minds? Since I've dared to sit here, do you think I don't have a way to deal with you? Everybody's pupil's contract. Kaka, Yenemo, I find it strange. You killed the people who went into the passages of life, so we don't know which one is the passage of life. If one of our people really died in the passage of death, the Jade Sword we obtained would naturally fall into the passage of death. You have the 9th Jade Sword. Don't tell me you'll just watch the other Jade Swords fall into the passages of death. Are you willing to part with the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion? Even though Ho Fei's question is rhetorical, everybody understands the meaning behind it. Obviously this Yenemo should have a way to enter the passages of death. Yenmo's eyes brighten. He looks at Ho Fei admiringly. You're really smart, monkey. Not bad. When I obtained the 9th Jade Sword, I also gained control of this great formation. All the passages of life and death are naturally under my control. Others can't enter the passages of death, but I can. Control the great formation? Azure Dragon and the others exchange a look. They have a bad feeling. Who knows how powerful this great formation actually is? This is a formation left behind by an immortal. If it has some special attacks, and Yenemo uses this mysterious formation to attack them, that will be very bad. Humph. Yenmo's face suddenly changes color and turns cold. Do all of you want to kill me and snatch my jade swords? Azure Dragon, Reverend Yin Su, Qin Yu and the others frown. Just now Yenemo was all smiles, but now his attitude has changed greatly. Yenemo gives a bright smile again. Haha, I didn't expect you to be scared. To tell you the truth, this hall is safe. Even if I control the formation, I still won't be able to harm you in this hall. But do you think I'm afraid of you? Even though you can suppress me by joining forces, it should be easy for me to seriously injure and kill some of you then run away, right? Yenemo says in a questioning tone. It is indeed very possible for a middle Kongming stage divine beast to seriously injure some of them then run away. If Yenemo goes all out, he can even take everybody down with him. Yenemo says smilingly. Don't forget that I'm only the controller of the periphery of the wilderness. You should know that in the wilderness, besides the controllers of the periphery, there's also a controller of the inner area and a controller of the core. Now everybody restrains themselves. The controller of the inner area is a divine beast of the Deshang stage. Yenmo's words cause everybody's faces to change color greatly. Deshang stage and a divine beast? This is even more formidable than a level 1 immortal, and surpasses a 4th tribulation, or 5th tribulation loose demon. Yenemo continues. The core of the wilderness is almost entirely made up of loose demons. The controller of the core is also the king of the entire wilderness. Legend has it that he's a 12th tribulation loose demon. Too bad, that's only a legend. Given my status, I've only seen the controller of the inner area once. Everybody is dumbstruck. Qingyu is also very shocked. There are loose immortals, loose demons and loose devils in the chaotic astral ocean, but who could have thought that the core of the wilderness also has a large number of loose demons, and that the strongest controller is even a 12th tribulation loose demon. Even though this is only a legend, even if there are no 12th tribulation loose demons, are there any 10th tribulation or 8th tribulation ones? If several loose demons casually come out of the core, they will be able to crush everybody as easily as crushing ants. Yin Mo continues, "Gentlemen, you'd better talk calmly with me. We'll get that 9 Swords Immortal Mansion together. If you go too far, I won't be able to do anything about it. Yin Mo, treat people very well so I won't attack you. I'll only give this 9th Jade Sword and the Jade Slip in that black jade case to the controller of the inner area. I believe the divine beast of the Deshang stage will be very happy." Everybody's face changes color greatly. If they open the Immortal Mansion with Yin Mo, they can still bargain. If the 9th Jade Sword falls into the hands of the controller of the inner area, a divine beast of the Deshang stage, perhaps that super expert simply won't be bothered to bargain with everybody, and will directly kill everybody to seize the 8 Jade Swords. This Yin Mo is obviously threatening them. It's well known that I treat people sincerely and kindly. Am I right, Xiao Shui? Yin Mo says while stroking the snowy cat. Meow. The snowy cat lets out a soft cry, which reverberates unceasingly in the main hall. Chapter 182. Although Yin Mo was smiling, the pressure brought by Yin Mo's gaze and simple words made everyone present feel heavy. Pressure. It was not only the pressure brought by Yin Mo himself, but also the pressure brought by the enormous forces of the untainted land Shuya realm behind Yin Mo. Yin Mo, you're still exactly the same as before. Azure Dragon thinks to himself while looking at Yin Mo. There is a hint of a helpless smile on the corners of his mouth. Azure Dragon knows that Yin Mo in front of him may not remember him, but he cannot forget Yin Mo. That weak and proud figure had always been in the Azure Dragon's mind. Perhaps all the disciples of the same generation, as the Azure Dragon Yin Lang and the Dragon Clan's Yin Clan would never forget the name Yin Mo. Ida says with a chuckle. Brother Yin Mo, if you didn't tell us, we wouldn't have known. Now that you've told us, we've been watching the sky from the bottom of a well. Deshang stage divine beasts and 12th tribulation loose demons. All of them are super experts who can destroy the world. Yin Mo slowly stroked the soft fur of the snow cat, but did not say anything. All right, I'll add you to the opening of the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion. Do you have any objections? Ida agreed by himself. Qingyu takes a look at old freak three-eyed, Azure Dragon, and the others then exclaims with a smile at Ho Fei. I don't care. My men haven't even seriously searched for the 9th Jade Sword. If Brother Yin Mo has one more person, then so be it. Old freak three-eyed also says with a nod. I don't object either. At this point, who would still object? Reverend Yin Su, Azure Dragon, and the others all nod in agreement. Haha. Yin Mo suddenly stands up with a big smile on his face. The robe on his body naturally spreads out like a gust of wind. He laughs out loud and says, That's really great. Since everybody has agreed, this matter will be simple. Now, let's use the 9 Jade Swords to find out the location of the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion. Where was the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion? Don't worry. Let's leave this place first, and then find out where the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion is. Reverend Yin Su says at once. You're right, Reverend Yin Su. Let's talk after we get out of here. Dilong also says smilingly. Yin Mo suddenly looks at Dilong and says with an ice-cold face. Who are you? Everybody at the scene is puzzled. Given Yin Mo's performance just now, he should know the overseas Xiuzhen world like the back of his hand. Why does he ask this question now? Could it be that he only wanted to make Dilong lose face? Dilong didn't care and immediately said, This one is Dilong of the 9 Spirits Hall. Oh, the big brother of the 9 little worms. Oh, there are only 4 little worms left, right? Yin Mo's tone was filled with arrogance. It was obvious that he looked down on the 9 Spirits Hall. Dilong, Di Jin and Di Su's faces change color. However, at this moment, that snowy cat is staring at them with its golden pupils. Their faces change color, but in the end they have no choice but to swallow their anger. The other party was a mid-combing stage divine beast. They were merely purple demon aquatic dragons, and they were only at the late Dongxi realm. The gap between them was too big. Haha. Don't you all want to go out? Sigh. I also know that all of you are worried that I will use a formation to trap all of you here. But you have wronged me. Yenemo was temperamental, but now he had an appearance of being wronged. Yenemo walked down the hall, and a passageway appeared in the air above the hall, leading directly to the ground. Everybody follow me. Yenemo soars into the sky. Soon after, that snowy cat also soars into the sky. The dragon Rocky Lion and the Hong Wuan have unexpectedly shrunk by several times. Afterwards, they also fly directly to the ground from that passageway. The representatives of the Penglai Immortal Region, the Purple Flame Devilish Dungeon, the Blue River Province, the Blue Dragon Temple, the Nine Spirits Hall, and the Stellar Tower all look at each other. Even though they cannot be sure whether this passageway is dangerous or not, they have no choice but to leave. In the end, they have no choice but to soar directly into the sky from this passageway very cautiously. Luckily, Yenemo was not so heartless, so they all arrive safely on the ground. After arriving on the ground, they finally choose a grassland as the place for their discussion. At the moment, the snowy cat has also transformed into a half-human shape. It has a cat's head and a human's head. Its body seems to be covered with a layer of snow-white fur. It stands beside Yenemo with an indifferent expression. Its golden pupils wantonly sweep over everybody. Everybody sits down with legs crossed on the soft grass of the grassland in a circle. There are 9 jade swords in total. I don't know how many each of you has. Let me tell you first, mine is the 9th jade sword. Yenemo says smilingly. Reverend Yensu says, my Penglai Immortal Region has the 1st jade sword. Ida gives several laughs and says, my Purple Flame Devilish Dungeon has a bit more. We have the 3rd and 5th jade swords. There are 2 in total. Azure Dragon also says, I have 2 jade swords, the 4th and the 7th respectively. The Stellar Hall has the 8th jade sword. Qingyu says. Old Three-Eyed also says with a humph. The Blue River Province has only the 2nd jade sword. Dilong also says smilingly. The Nine Spirits Hall has the 6th jade sword. Hearing Dilong's words, Yenemo takes a look at him then says loudly, I believe you've all seen the jade slip in the black jade case, so you should know how to use the 9 jade swords to find out the location of that 9 swords immortal mansion, right? Of course. Reverend Yensu says indifferently. Since that's the case, let's find out where that 9 swords immortal mansion is first, shall we? Yenemo makes a wave of his hand. The 9th jade sword radiates various rays of light and floats in the air. Azure Dragon also makes a wave of his hand. 2 of his jade swords also radiate rays of light. They then float in the air together with the 9th jade sword. Afterwards, Qingyu, Old Freak Three-Eyed, Reverend Yensu, Dilong and Ida all use their minds to activate their jade swords. All of them radiate rays of light and float in the air. The 9 jade swords formed a circle, and each jade sword emitted a slightly different brilliance. In the end, the rays of light from the 9 swords slowly merge together. That light then spreads out and covers the several people. Qingyu, Azure Dragon, Old Freak Three-Eyed, Dilong, Ida, Reverend Yensu and Yenemo are all bathed in the light. In just a while the light disappears. The 9 jade swords fly back to their master's hands again. The 7 of them all have a faint smile on their faces. But in a while, the 7 of them frown deeply. They all know where the 9 swords immortal mansion is. But this does not mean they can enter it easily. I didn't expect it to be inside the chaotic astral ocean. Reverend Yensu says frowningly. Even though it's only at the edge of the chaotic astral ocean, it's already 10,000 li into the ocean. Even though 10,000 li is only a short time for us to drink a cup of tea, but it's still so far away. The 9 Swords Immortal Mansion is located at the bottom of the ocean, over 13,000 li south of the Golden Tree Island. This Golden Tree Island is none other than the island with the ancient teleportation formation. It is only 2,000 to 3,000 li away from the edge of the chaotic astral ocean. This 9 Swords Immortal Mansion is really inside the chaotic astral ocean, which is very distressing. It is only 10,000 li. Given their speed of traveling 1 million li a day, they can indeed pass it in a cup of tea's time. But a cup of tea's time is after all enough for many things to happen. Perhaps they will encounter fairy-beasts unique to the chaotic astral ocean on the way. If they are weak fairy-beasts, it will be easy, but if they are Duja stage or even Dasheng stage fairy-beasts, they will be finished. Yenemo says unconcernedly. It's only 10,000 li. It's the most peripheral area of the chaotic astral ocean. The possibility of running into Duja stage or Dasheng stage fairy-beasts is really too low. As for loose immortals, loose devils and loose demons, most of them are in the depths of the chaotic astral ocean. If we're lucky, we'll run into 1 or 2 Yuanying or Kongming fairy-beasts at most. That's reasonable. It's only 10,000 li. For the sake of the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion, this risk is still worth taking. Old Freak Three-Eyed also says after pondering for a while. The others all ponder then nod their heads. Everybody has a wishful thinking. Moreover, what Yenemo said is also very reasonable. They are going to the periphery of the chaotic astral ocean, so perhaps ferocious fairy-beasts will not be there. Moreover, super experts such as loose immortals, loose devils and loose demons generally will not stay in the periphery either. Di Long says. Everybody has agreed. But how many people from each party will go to the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion? Azure Dragon says smilingly. Naturally it'll be decided by the number of jade swords you have. Like this, 1 person with a jade sword can go. 2 people with 2 jade swords can go. Azure Dragon has 2 jade swords, so in fact he alone is enough to go. No. Reverend Yen Su Di Long, Ida and the others say almost simultaneously. Reverend Huatian and Reverend Di Feng have to go, but my Penglai Immortal region only has 1 jade sword. What should we do? If we have 1 jade sword we can send 3 people there. Reverend Yen Su puts forward another plan. No. Old Freak Three-Eyed and Azure Dragon object again. After going to the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion, the more people there are, the more benefits there will be. Azure Dragon and Old Freak Three-Eyed believe that they are enough to go, so naturally, they want the fewer people there are, the better. Qinyu says smilingly. Since you don't agree and I don't agree, how about this? Let's each take a step back. If we have 1 jade sword, 2 people can go. Is this feasible? Qinyu does not care too much about having several people go. No. Di Long looks at Qinyu and says with a cold laugh. Qinyu, 3 people can go with 1 jade sword. This is already a concession. Moreover, I believe Ida and Reverend Yen Su won't agree to your proposal. Your stellar tower only has 2 or 3 experts, so you don't care about having several people go, but you want to restrain us. This is really too insidious. Bullshit. Qinyu's eyes flash with fierceness. Di Long insidious? Why are you framing me so casually? Do you really think I'm so easy to frame? I don't care about those brothers of your 9 spirits hall. I, Qinyu, have been speaking nicely to you these days. Do you still think I'm a persimmon that you can knead? As the saying goes, kind people are bullied. Di Long, you'd better be careful. Don't provoke me. Otherwise, even without Uncle Lon going into action, the 3 of us will be able to destroy your 9 spirits hall. Qinyu does not hide his killing intent at all. In the past 10 years, Qinyu has been with his relatives, so his temperament has indeed improved a lot. This time the 6 powers are together, and Qinyu appears very friendly. Seeing that Qinyu is so soft-tempered, Di Long comes to bully Qinyu instead. Naturally Qinyu gets angry. Ho Fei says smilingly. Kaka Di Long, last time I fought you to my heart's content. Now I've made progress in power. I'll play with the 4 of you by myself. Azure Dragon still has not figured out what kind of divine beast Ho Fei is. Ho Fei. But he can transform at least twice. Ho Fei is far superior to ordinary divine beasts. Even a rare divine beast like the 3 blue-eyed toad is far inferior to him. Even though Ho Fei is only at the early Dongshu stage, as long as he transforms twice, even Azure Dragon will not dare to be careless. In the past, when he was at the late Yuanying stage, Ho Fei was able to beat Di Long until he begged for mercy. Now it is indeed not difficult for Ho Fei to destroy Di Long and the others. Humph. Di Long utters a cold humph but stops talking. Di Long has always been hostile to Qinyu. When the 6 powers have gathered, Qinyu has always been very amiable. Therefore Di Long wants to oppress Qinyu verbally. But he has not expected Qinyu to react so fiercely. looking as if he will start a fight at the slightest disagreement. Reverend Yen Su also says frowningly, "Di Long, what you said is wrong. The Stellar Tower has 3 tower masters. If 3 of them go, it'll be extremely beneficial to them too. Qin Yu already made a concession when Tower Master Di Long said 2 of them would go. You've gone too far by saying that he's sinister." Hey, don't change the subject. Yen Mo says smilingly. Everybody looks at Yen Mo. Just now we were discussing how many people can go with a jade sword? You've all made up your minds. Yen Mo sweeps everybody with his eyes. Reverend Yen Su, Reverend Huatian and Reverend Di Feng are discussing together. Ida is also discussing with Situ Shui and Jiaojiao. After all, the Penglai Immortal Region and the Purple Flame Devilish Dungeon are formed by various Xiuxian and Xioma schools. It will be extremely troublesome to decide how many people to send. After a long time we've agreed. Each jade sword will send 2 people. Reverend Yen Su nods to Qin Yu in a friendly manner, then says loudly. Ida also says indifferently, "We don't have any objection to sending 2 people with each jade sword." Old Freak Three-Eyed and Azure Dragon naturally do not have any objection. Qin Yu, who made this suggestion, will not object even more. Now that the 5 of them have agreed, Di Long only gives a cold humph in the end. Afterwards, he has no choice but to accept this result. "Oh my, Xiao Shui, Long Yen and Hong Wan all want to go. What should we do?" Yen Mo says in a low voice. "This is a bit troublesome. I only have 1 jade sword but 4 of us have to go. What should we do?" Hearing Yen Mo talking to himself, the others cannot help frowning. "Oh my, I've got a way." Yen Mo's eyes suddenly brighten. He claps his hands happily and says, "Oh, you've got a way? What's the way?" "Each jade sword can only send 2 people. We've already discussed it. What other way do you have?" Old Freak Three-Eyed asks with a sideways glance. Yen Mo gives a smile. In an instant, Yen Mo's body disappears. Everybody's face changes color. They only see a black silhouette pouncing at Di Long, Di Jian and Di Su. In the blink of an eye, Yen Mo returns to his original place and sits down with legs crossed smilingly. "Isn't this enough? With 2 jade swords, 4 people can go, right?" A jade sword unexpectedly appears in Yen Mo's hand. Yen Mo smiles at everybody. His smile is very brilliant. At the moment Di Long, Di Jian and Di Su are motionless, but their pupils are dilated. The expression in their eyes has become completely dim and colorless. Everybody at the scene makes a sweep with their holy senses, and cannot help being shocked. The 3D brothers have already been killed. Chapter 183. Yen Mo, what are you doing? Old Freak Three-Eyed, who has been sitting cross-legged in meditation, suddenly stands up. His aura increases greatly. His green hair flutters in the wind. The crack between his eyebrows opens, and his third eye glitters with green light. At the moment, Old Freak Three-Eyed is so furious that he glares at Yen Mo, Reverend Yen Su, and the others of the Penglai Immortal Region, and the 3 Qin Yu brothers of the Stellar Tower also suddenly stand up and look at Yen Mo furiously. Their eyes glitter with coldness. Azure Dragon, on the other hand, frowned deeply. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he looked at Yen Mo. Ida's face turns blue. He points at Yen Mo at once and says, "Yen Mo, our 6 powers have agreed to let you join us. Naturally our 7 powers can be considered allies. Since we are allies, why did you kill someone from your alliance without permission?" Ida's tone turns cold. "If you want to kill me, then kill me. What do you think this is? You killed the 3D brothers today, so I'm afraid you'll kill us tomorrow." As soon as Ida says so, the murderous auras of the others all soar. They stare at Ida furiously. Obviously, as long as there is a disagreement, Reverend Yen Su and the others will disregard everything to kill Yen Mo. Yen Mo is too powerful. To deal with him alone, Azure Dragon, Old Freak Three-Eyed, Reverend Yen Su and Ida have to join forces to slightly suppress him. If Yen Mo is let off this time, next time he kills one of the 4, he will not be able to suppress him even if he wants to. Elements of unrest would never be allowed to exist. "Ah." Yen Mo stretched and then smiled. "What are you doing?" All of them looked like they wanted to kill someone. Did I do something that angered the heavens and the people? Yen Mo had an inexplicable expression. Azure Dragon narrows his eyes then says, Yin Mo, when you join us and become one of us, our 7 sides will be considered allies. Then let me ask you, why did you kill the 3D brothers? How do you expect us to trust you in the future? If we can't trust you, how can we open the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion together with you? Azure Dragon stares at Yin Mo. The forces of the Penglai Immortal Region, the Purple Flame Devilish Dungeon, the Blue Dragon Temple, the Blue River Province and the Stellar Tower all look at Yin Mo coldly, their attitudes very unfriendly. At the moment, the other 5 parties have completely joined forces. Only by joining forces can they completely suppress Yin Mo. Don't be rude to my lord. The snowy cat shouts coldly. The facial expressions of Qin Yu and the others also change. This snowy cat looks like a cat, but it is actually a divine beast, Jichu. It has reached the middle Dongshu stage. As a middle Dongshu stage divine beast, the snowy cat's strength is also extremely strong. Xiaoxue, you have to be polite to guests. Yin Mo shouts in a low voice. Yes, Snowcat replied immediately. Then, she stood beside Yin Mo and stopped talking. Yin Mo smiled at the angry crowd and said, Oh, it's just a small matter. I thought it was something big. Yin Mo didn't care at all. A small matter? Killing them is a small matter. But if you kill me later, will that be a big matter or a small matter? Reverend Yin Su says coldly. Of course it's something big. Yin Mo says in astonishment. Reverend Yin Su, you're the Grand Elder of the Qingshu Temple in the north of the chaotic astral ocean. What's your status? If I kill you, the Qingshu Temple on the Tunglong continent will definitely send experts to make trouble for me. How can I be so stupid as to kill you? Reverend Yin Su is stunned. The group of people such as Qin Yu, Azure Dragon and Ida are also startled. Yin Mo says very solemnly. The schools in the Penglai Immortal Region are only branches of the schools on the Tunglong continent. Even though your power is average, there's still a school behind you. I'm not so stupid as to provoke you. Yin Mo then looks at Ida and the others saying, It's the same. I won't easily offend the people of the Purple Flame Devilish Dungeon either. On the Tunglong continent, Xiamoists are almost as powerful as Xiuxianists. As for the Blue River Province, Three-Eyed, you haven't used the real power of that third eye of yours yet, have you? Yin Mo says smilingly. Old freak Three-Eyed's eyes turn cold, but he immediately says in a cold voice, You'll know after you try it. Yin Mo says smilingly in an unconcerned manner. I don't want to try it yet. Even though I'm much stronger than you, and I'm sure I can kill you, but the three-eyed toad is a fairly formidable divine beast. If it uses its third eye to launch a desperate attack, even I'll be seriously injured. I don't want to do that. Usually, old freak Three-Eyed's third eye attack is just a normal attack. Once he faces death, if he uses it to launch a desperate attack, it will be so powerful that even Yin Mo does not dare to look down on it. As for Azure Dragon, which family of the Dragon Clan do you belong to? Yin Mo asks. Azure Dragon says smilingly. The Yin family. Yin Mo looks like you've already forgotten me. Yin Mo is startled then gives a haha laugh. The Yin family. I didn't expect to run into a descendant of the same family here. The Yin family has a large population in the Dragon Clan, so it has quite a few descendants of the same generation. I only know 2 or 3 of them. I don't know the others, and I don't feel like knowing them either. Azure Dragon. I don't think I need to tell you the reason why I didn't kill you. The Dragon Clan has let you stay in the north of the chaotic astral ocean, so it can be said that they've attached great importance to you. If I kill you, any old monster of the Dragon Clan can come here at will. Even an inner leader won't be able to protect me. As a descendant of the Dragon Clan, Yin Mo naturally knows how powerful the Dragon Clan is. As for the Stellar Tower, I heard it has an loose immortal behind it. He must be Tower Master Qin Yu's uncle. Azure Dragon, tell me, what level is that loose immortal at? Yin Mo says smilingly to Azure Dragon, as if he is very enthusiastic. Azure Dragon looks at Yin Mo with a frown. Yin Mo, in the past you were very cold and arrogant. When did you become so glib-tongued? Yin Mo is startled. Cold and arrogant? In the past, Black Dragon of the Yin family was indeed cold and arrogant. He was an anomaly among the descendants of the same generation. However, after struggling for so many years in the wilderness, Yenmo has changed too much. Recalling the days in the Dragon Clan, recalling the experiences of so many years, Yenmo's heart was in a trance. But in an instant, Yenmo sobered up. He smiled at the Azure Dragon and said, "I asked you, but you asked me instead. Tell me, what level is Tower Master Qin Yu's uncle at?" "I'm not sure." There is a hint of doubt in Azure Dragon's eyes. "Yenmo, Qin Yu's Uncle Lan is extremely powerful. I feel that Uncle Lan is even more formidable than the most formidable experts of the Dragon Clan I've ever seen. In other words, he is at least a sixth tribulation loose immortal." At least a sixth tribulation loose immortal? Yenmo becomes silent. "I once saw that Uncle Lan teleport directly with Qin Yu and Ho Fei. Teleportation is a magic ability that only fourth tribulation loose immortals can use. Qin Yu's Uncle Lan unexpectedly teleported with two people. This power." Azure Dragon shakes his head and gives a forced smile. Yenmo's face becomes solemn. "Perhaps he's more than a sixth tribulation loose immortal." While Yenmo and Azure Dragon are talking, Reverend Huitian and Reverend Difeng are looking coldly at Reverend Yen Su, because in the past Reverend Yen Su only told them that Uncle Lan was only an ordinary loose immortal, and that they did not need to care about him. However, now that they have heard this, it seems that Uncle Lan is extremely powerful. Anyone who has surpassed a fourth tribulation loose immortal has to be careful, let alone a sixth tribulation one. Even the headmasters of their schools on the Tunglong continent have to be careful when dealing with super experts. "Haha, Brother Qin Yu." Yenmo puts an arm around Qin Yu's shoulder. Qin Yu cannot help feeling scared in his heart, but he still restrains himself from attacking Yenmo. Even though he feels uneasy because Yenmo is putting an arm around his shoulder, Qin Yu believes that Yenmo will not attack him. Yenmo puts his arm around Qin Yu's shoulder and says enthusiastically, "Brother Qin Yu, you don't need to worry about me. I'm bold, but I don't want to die. Perhaps Uncle Lan can kill me with a single finger. Even Desheng stage divine beasts are no match for Uncle Lan. Tell me, do I dare to kill you?" Qin Yu is speechless. Even though everybody knows this, there is no need to say it out loud. This Yenmo is really an interesting person. Qin Yu also feels that Yenmo's attitude towards him has obviously changed greatly since he found out about Uncle Lan's power. "Do you understand now? Even though I have a backer, I'm afraid the Dragon Clan won't care about me after I die. Azure Dragon, you should know I'm not lying, right?" There is a faint bitter smile on the corners of his mouth. Azure Dragon nods his head slightly. How much does he know when he was young and frivolous? Losing the powerful backer of the Dragon Clan is a kind of blessing for Yenmo. Under the protection of the Dragon Clan, he may not be able to truly grow up. Yenmo sweeps everybody with his eyes and says smilingly, "All right, at least I'm not stupid enough to deal with you. As for why I killed the three of them, humph. The three of them are merely three purple demon aquatic dragons with no background at all. I'm wondering, how did you guys make the Nine Spirits Hall become a major power in the overseas Xiozhen world?" There is a puzzled look in Yenmo's eyes. The Nine Spirits Hall can't be called experts. They don't even have a backer. They want to go to the Nine Swords Immortal Mansion to fight for treasures? Don't they feel their immortal weapons are too hot? Yenmo's eyes are filled with disdain. Obviously he despises the Nine Spirits Hall the most among the six major powers in the overseas Xiozhen world. This is also the reason why he attacked them. Yenmo looks at everybody and says, "I'm wondering why you guys didn't kill a power like this, which has neither experts nor backers, to snatch their jade swords? In the end I got the advantage instead." Hearing Yenmo's words, everybody's hostility instead fades away. Azure Dragon says smilingly, "Yenmo, in the past when Three-Eyed and I were fighting fiercely, these 9 little insects happened to appear. Relying on formations, their power increased greatly when they joined hands. Even for me, it was a bit troublesome to deal with them. So I simply made them the third major power of the underwater Zeoists, sandwiched between Three-Eyed and me, so that the underwater Xiuyao world would be more stable." Oh, so that's how it is. Yenmo understands. The Nine Spirits Hall is a product of balance. The Blue Dragon Temple and the Blue River Province are about as powerful as each other, so the fight between them is too fierce. Both sides don't want to fight, so they let the Nine Spirits Hall act as a buffer between them. In fact, neither the Blue Dragon Temple nor the Blue River Province take the Nine Spirits Hall seriously at all. In the Nine Spirits Hall, every day someone goes to check the place where soul jade slips are kept. Today it is time to check again. The guard captain listlessly opens the door of the place where soul jade slips are kept with drooping eyes and only glances at the counter. Theoretically, there should only be 4 soul jade slips at the top. After all, the other 5 majesties are already dead. The guard captain opens his eyes wide and his mouth wide open, as if he has lost his voice. At the moment, he is completely petrified as if he has been struck by lightning. The most powerful people in the Nine Spirits Hall are Di Long and Di Jian. Even though 5 majesties have died, the Nine Spirits Hall is still relatively stable with these 2 present. However, at the moment, only one of the 4 soul jade slips at the top of the counter is intact. The other soul jade slips representing Di Long, Di Jian and Di Su have been completely shattered. The guard captain certainly knows what this means. Swallowing his dry throat, the guard leader knew that this matter was serious. He didn't even dare to shout loudly, trying hard to calm his fear. The guard leader first used a hand seal to close the door, and then hurried towards Denai Palace. Ninth Majesty, the guard captain of the place where soul jade slips are kept, is asking for an audience. Let him in. Denai's expression is somewhat unsightly. The guard captain of this place is the person he least wants to see. This person's arrival means that a relatively important person in the Nine Spirits Hall must have died. As soon as the guard captain enters, he kneels down all of a sudden. As soon as Denai sees his appearance, his heart skips a beat. At the moment, the guard captain's eyes are slightly red, and there is fright in the depths of his pupils. His lips are pale. Even though he is forcibly suppressing his fear, his expression shows it. What can actually frighten him so much? Tell me what happened. Denai shouts coldly. Denai's breathing also becomes heavy. Ninth Majesty. The guard captain looks like a traveler who has not drunk water for a long time. His throat is very dry. Ninth Majesty, Great Majesty, they. Hearing this, Denai only feels dizzy. But he still has a glimmer of hope, so he continues to ask. Tell me clearly, what happened to them? If you lie, I'll scatter your soul. There is only a glimmer of hope. Dead, all dead. As soon as the guard captain says this, his whole body collapses into a sitting position. Even though he has collapsed into a sitting position, he feels much more at ease. Just now, he has been under too much pressure because of such a big matter. I see. You can leave now. Don't tell anybody about this. Denai says calmly as if nothing has happened. Yes. That guard captain hurriedly leaves. Denai just sits in a chair like this very quietly. However, he does not notice that at the moment his face is very pale. Blank, his mind is completely blank. Denai just sits there like this. In fact, his mind is thinking about many things, but also seems to be thinking about nothing. At this moment, time basically has no meaning. Only after a long time does Denai feel that his heart is in great pain. The palace maids simply do not dare to approach him. Denai has been sitting there indifferently for 3 whole days. However, the maids simply do not know that for Denai, these 3 days seem to be infinitely long, but also seem to be just a moment. Phew. He breathes heavily like bellows. His head feels dizzy. Only after an unknown period of time does Denai feel uncomfortable. His face has turned purple. He covers his heart with his right hand. It hurts so much that it seems to be torn apart. Big brother, second brother, third brother, fourth brother. Various images emerge in Denai's eyes. In the past, the 9 brothers were adventuring in the underwater Xiuyao world. No, Big Brother and the others may not necessarily be dead. Not necessarily. Right, that guard captain must have deceived me. He must have deceived me. Denai says in a low voice. His eyes then turn crimson, as if he has gone mad. In an instant, he has already left the main hall, and rushes directly towards the place where the soul jade slips are kept. Chapter 184. Slowly the door opens. Denai sees that 3 of the 4 soul jade slips on the top of the counter have already been broken. The soul jade slips representing his last 3 brothers have all been broken. At this moment Denai calms down instead. He slowly walks into the room, then performs a mudra to close the door. Standing alone in front of the ancient wooden counter, he looks at the 3 broken soul jade slips. The 9 purple demon aquatic dragons have been hiding here and there in the dangerous underwater Xiuyao world ever since they were young. They have either killed people for their belongings or fled for their lives. But the 9 brothers have always supported each other. Their brotherhood even surpasses their own lives. Of the 9 brothers, 8 are dead and 1 is left. Haha. Denai laughs in a low voice. His laughter is very soft and low. Afterwards, his face is unexpectedly full of smiles. Brothers, in the past, us 9 brothers were able to move unhindered in the underwater Xiuyao world. How glorious that was. Now you've all passed away. I'm the only one left in this world. Denai sits down casually. A wine bottle appears in his hand out of thin air. He then drinks a mouthful of wine and says slowly to the broken soul jade slips. Brothers, we've never suffered a big loss in so many years. A few years ago 8th brother died. Denai frowns. At that time, Ditong's death gave rise to a series of events. The 9 brothers also died one after another. 8th brother died. Then 2nd brother also died. Afterwards, on the Black Rock Island, 3 brothers died one after another. In just a few years, 5 brothers died one after another. But even though we knew the murderers were Ho Fei and Qin Yu, we were afraid of that loose immortal, so we didn't dare to get into action. But we couldn't avenge our brothers' deaths. Every time I think of this, I feel as if a knife is being twisted in my heart. Denai's breathing starts to tremble. He then drinks another mouthful of wine. But today, the remaining 3 brothers are also dead. Dead, all dead. The glory of the 9 brothers is still vaguely in front of me. Now I'm the only one left. I look around the world, but I don't have any brothers left. After saying so, Denai slowly drinks the wine without saying anything else. Denai's face, which is enjoying the wine, unexpectedly has a hint of relaxation. It is an expression of complete indifference. At the moment, Denai is completely different from the past. To the 9 brothers, brothers are the biggest fetters. When all his brothers are dead, what else can restrain Denai? As the saying goes, those who are barefoot are not afraid of those who are wearing shoes. His 8 brothers are all dead, so Denai is basically barefoot. Denai stands up. Looking at the broken soul jade slip, he gives a brilliant smile. Brothers, now that you're all dead, I don't care anymore. Back then, I didn't dare to deal with Qin Yu because I was worried that the other brothers would be implicated. Now that I'm the only one left in this world, I don't have to worry about anything. From today onwards, Old Ninth will definitely live well. Brothers, don't worry. Those murderers don't even think about living peacefully. The coldness in Denai's eyes seems to come from the 9 hells. Afterwards, Denai walks out of the place where the soul jade slips are stored. What kind of enemy was the most terrifying? It wasn't someone who was crazy and bloodthirsty, but someone who didn't care about anything at all. Moreover, he was clear-headed and calm, with only the goal of revenge in his heart. This kind of enemy was the most terrifying. In the past, the people from the 9 Spirits Hall still had some reservations because of the other brothers. However, now the 8 brothers are dead, leaving only Denai. Naturally, he had no reservations. The most dangerous thing was that after going through such a drastic change and suffering such a blow, Denai not only did not go crazy, he instead became even calmer and clear-headed than before. Perhaps he could also be called gloomy and cold. At the moment, in the wilderness on the Qianlong continent, my fellow Xiatianists, now that we all know where the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion is, when will we open it? Reverend Yen Su looks around at everybody and asks. Yen Emo says frowningly, when will it open? The Qianlong continent is about 200 million li away from the Golden Tree Island. Given the normal speed of early Kongming stage experts, it'll take them about a year to get there. But we can't be sure about the power of the people you'll send out, and the time is also uncertain. Ida says coldly. In a year and a half, my purple flame devilish dungeons men will definitely arrive at the Golden Tree Island. If they want to arrive at the Golden Tree Island, it'll take them 3 years. Yenmo's words astound everybody. Yenmo, given your speed, perhaps you'll be able to arrive there in a month or 2. Why do you still need 3 years? Azure Dragon asks. Naturally he can guess how fast Yenmo's speed is. If he flies at full speed, a month will be enough. Yenmo says with a nod. After a while, Hong Wuan will have to undergo her 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation, and Long Yin will probably have to undergo his 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation too. It's better to relax a bit. 3 years it is. Qin Yu says with a nod. Ho Fei has already undergone his 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation, and Xiao He will undergo his tribulation in half a year. So Qin Yu is not in a hurry to open that 9 Swords Immortal Mansion right away. All right, then let's do it this way. After 3 years, we'll meet on the Golden Tree Island, then enter the chaotic astral ocean together to open the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion. What do you think? Yenmo says while looking around at everybody. They have already waited for so many years, so nobody will be in a hurry to wait 3 years. Moreover, opening the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion requires 9 jade swords. Without any one of them, it cannot be opened. Everybody has their own jade sword, so naturally, they will not worry about others opening it ahead of time. Immediately, Reverend Yin Su, Ida, Qin Yu, Azure Dragon and Old Freak Three-Eyed all agree to this matter. After this matter has been discussed, everybody prepares to leave. However, when they are about to part suddenly, "Oh, Brother Qin Yu, I want to remind you of something." He suddenly says to Qin Yu, "Oh, what's the matter, Brother Yenmo?" Qin Yu asks smilingly. Yenmo asks in reply, "Brother Qin Yu, I killed the 3D Long brothers. Could it be you didn't think what the result would be? As far as I know, you and Ho Fei once killed several brothers of the 9 Spirits Hall. Now only D9 remains in the 9 Spirits Hall." Qin Yu's face changes color at once. Just now when they were talking about the 9 Swords Immortal Mansion, even though the 3 D9 brothers were killed, Qin Yu only thought that they were killed by Yenmo. Given Yenmo's power, it is impossible for D9 to take revenge. Qin Yu did not think too much about anything else. However, now that Yenmo has mentioned it, Qin Yu finds that the situation is not good. This Yenmo killed the 3 D9 brothers. Now only D9 remains in the 9 Spirits Hall. At that time the 4 D9 brothers didn't dare to take revenge on Fei and me, because they were worried about the lives of their brothers. But now it's hard to say. Qin Yu frowns deeply. D9's power is ordinary, so he can't kill Fei and me. But father still has big brother and second brother. At the moment Qin Yu has a bad feeling. D Long and the others all know about the identities of his father and the others. At that time they did not dare to harm his relatives. But now only D9 remains. That is not necessarily the case. Qin Yu, you're really stupid. Why did you completely reveal your identity at that time? Qin Yu scolds himself angrily in his mind. It's just that at that time Qin Yu thought that the 9 Spirits Hall would definitely not dare to harm his relatives without permission. Therefore he acted without any scruples. Moreover, now that he has returned to the Qin dynasty to be with his relatives, given the power of D Long and the others, they will definitely find out. Therefore he will not be able to conceal it. Yenmo, you killed the 3 D9 brothers and made me the scapegoat. Qin Yu says bitterly. Yenmo says with an innocent expression, "Brother Qin Yu, can you blame me for this? Don't worry, I won't make you the scapegoat. I'll have someone spread the news right away, saying that the 3 D9 brothers were killed by me. What do you think?" Qin Yu lets out a sigh. Even if D9 knows that Yenmo killed his 3 brothers, what can he do? This Yenmo is even stronger than Azure Dragon. Now that he has killed the 3 D9 brothers, D9 won't even have the slightest chance of revenge. Perhaps D9 won't set his sights on Yenmo, who has no chance of success. He will most likely make trouble for his relatives. Qin Yu, don't worry. From now on, the 9 Spirits Hall will no longer exist in the underwater Shuya world. I'll have someone send an order directly to the caves under the command of the 9 Spirits Hall, telling them that only D9 is left in the 9 Spirits Hall. From now on, the 9 Spirits Hall is done for. Those caves will be divided among us as we wish. Azure Dragon says directly. Old Freak Three-Eyed also says with a nod. Now the underwater Xiuyao world only has the Blue Dragon Temple, the Blue River Province, and the Stellar Tower. The Nine Spirits Hall is no more. Azure Dragon and Old Freak Three-Eyed's words have pronounced the end of the Nine Spirits Hall. I'll send some guardians of the Blue Dragon Temple to go after that deny. Now as long as he is killed, he will definitely not be able to threaten the safety of your relatives. Azure Dragon immediately sees clearly what Qin is worried about. Old Freak Three-Eyed also gives the same guarantee. Brother Azure Dragon, great ancestor, thank you. A hint of coldness flashes through Qin eyes. Immediately afterwards, Qin takes a look at everybody. Now that the matter of the Nine Swords Immortal Mansion has been settled, we'll have to wait for 3 years to gather on the Golden Tree Island. I have a request. No Zuyoists are allowed to enter the territory of the Qin dynasty. From now on, any Zuyoists who don't belong to our Stellar Tower, who enter the Qin dynasty will be killed without exception. Qin says in a cold voice. Qin says to everybody, Brother Azure Dragon, great ancestor, Yen Mo, I just want to give everybody a warning in advance. I think that hysterical deny will definitely come here with a large number of troops. Given the power of the Nine Spirits Hall, they definitely have a group of loyal subordinates. I absolutely can't make any mistakes. All right, that's no problem at all. The matter of the Nine Swords Immortal Mansion has been settled for the time being. I'm also going back to the Blue Dragon Temple. Moreover, those people I brought here have all been killed by Yin Mo's troops. Azure Dragon says at once. Old Freak Three-Eyed also says with a nod. The matter has been settled. I'm also going back to the Blue River Province. I'll take all the troops of the Blue River Province back with me. Brother Qin, you can kill all the Zuyoists who enter the Qin dynasty. Old Freak Three-Eyed also supports Qin. Don't worry, the demonic beasts of the wilderness won't enter the territory of mortals for no reason. Moreover, I'll also issue a strict order. Even if you don't kill those who violate the order, I'll still kill them. Thanks to these 3 people's assurances, Qin no longer has any misgivings. Thank you everybody. This matter is very important, so I can't waste even a little bit of time. I'm leaving now. Qin salutes everybody with folded hands and says, Take care. Everybody present knows how anxious Qin is at the moment. Afterwards, Qin, Ho Fei and Kuro directly fly extremely fast towards the Qin dynasty. Azure Dragon Three-Eyed, help me spread the news that those 3 Dni were killed by me. Maybe that Dni will really be stupid enough to attack me. If that happens, I'll be doing Qin a small favor. He says to Azure Dragon and Old Freak Three-Eyed. In the Qinglin Garden in the Imperial Palace of the Qin dynasty, on a stone table under a willow tree, there are crisscrossing lines on a chessboard. A scholarly old man in a black scholar's robe is holding a feather fan, and a middle-aged man in a blue gown with a long beard is sitting there. The 2 of them are sitting opposite to each other, quietly playing Go. Fenjiuzi, however, is sitting on one side, quietly watching the game. After pondering for a long time, that middle-aged man in a blue gown says smilingly, Su Yuan, your Go skills are becoming more and more exquisite. This scholarly old man with the black feather fan is none other than Su Yuan. Su Yuan is different from Qinda, because he has not made great achievements in practice. Now he is nearly 60 years old, and has already shown signs of old age. Don't praise me, retired emperor. In terms of Go skills, I'm far inferior to that Miss Lear. Su Yuan says with a sigh. I didn't expect that after wandering outside for more than 10 years, I'd be able to come back and see such a wonderful woman. In the past, the Xiang clan was destroyed, and the Qin dynasty was established. This meritorious official, Su Yuan, later resigned from his position, and began to travel around the world. For more than 10 years, Su Yuan has taken his servants to go on a scenic tour all over the country. Recently, Su Yuan has also just returned. Not long after he arrived, he met Qinda. Even though Qinda and Su Yuan are master and servant, in fact they are like brothers. Lier? Haha, Su Yuan. It seems you've also heard about Lier's reputation while traveling outside. Qinda says with a clear laugh. Do you even need to say it, retired emperor? Miss Li has defeated the capital's Go Saint in succession. She has even defeated the titans of the Go world one by one. Miss Li's reputation, especially in the Go world, is known by everyone. Even if I'm at the ends of the world, Miss Li's reputation will still reverberate like thunder in my ears. Su Yuan says in a clear voice. Qinda looks at Su Yuan's appearance. After a long time, he says with a sigh. In the past, Yor went to Misty Villa when he was 6 years old. In the blink of an eye, more than 30 years have passed. You were young at that time, but now your hair has turned somewhat white. When Qin Yu was 6 years old, Su Yuan was still very young. In the past 10 years or so, I've also tried to find you, but you were traveling outside, so I didn't have any news about you. I don't know if there are still some foundation-building pills left from last time that you were refined. Even though you haven't practiced cultivation, after taking them, you'll still have longevity. Qinda says with a smile. Right at this moment, 3 afterimages flash. Soon after, Qin Yu, Ho Fei and Kuro appear in front of Qinda and the other 2 people. Seeing Qin Yu, Qinda immediately stands up. Su Yuan beside him also stands up. This is your Uncle Su. Your Uncle Su has also just finished traveling for more than 10 years. While Qinda is talking, Su Yuan waves his feather fan and says calmly with a smile. Xiao Yu, looking at your expression, it seems something big has happened. Tell me about it. Chapter 185. Uncle Su. Qin Yu's eyes brighten. In terms of strategy, the Qin clan's former chief military counselor is naturally of a high level. Qinda can also tell that Qin Yu has something important to tell him, so he immediately looks at Qin Yu and listens attentively. Father, Uncle Su, Uncle Feng, something big has indeed happened. It concerns the lives of our Qin clan's descendants. Qin Yu's expression is solemn. Qinda's expression also becomes solemn. He frowns deeply, then says in a low voice. Tell us everything clearly. What's actually going on? In the overseas Xiuyao world at that time, Fei and I killed several majesties of the 9 Spirits Hall, so there was a huge enmity between us. However, because of Uncle Lan's power, the remaining 4 majesties of the 9 Spirits Hall didn't dare to make trouble for us. Fei, Xiao He and I didn't care about the 9 Spirits Hall either. But Qin Yu's voice becomes serious. But now 3 of the remaining 4 majesties were killed in the wilderness. In other words, there's only 1 majesty left in the 9 Spirits Hall. As far as I know, the majesties of the 9 Spirits Hall attach great importance to brotherhood. In my opinion, the last majesty Denai will definitely retaliate against me at all costs. Even though I'm not afraid of them, I'm worried that Denai and his subordinates will attack the Qin clan's descendants. Qinda raises his eyebrows. His face changes color. He has heard Qin Yu talk about the 9 Spirits Hall, so he knows that it's also a superpower in the underwater Xiuyao world. If the leader of such a power wants to assassinate the Qin clan's descendants, even though Qin Yu's power is not small, it will still be rather difficult. After all, Qin Yu is in the light while Denai is in the dark. Xiao Yu, the underwater Xiuyao world you mentioned should have other powers, right? Su Yuan asks. Qin Yu says with a nod. Yes, Uncle Su. There are 4 superpowers in the underwater Xiuyao world, namely the Blue Dragon Temple, the Blue River Province, the 9 Spirits Hall, and the Stellar Tower. This Star Pavilion is also my force. Blue Dragon Temple and Blue River Province are the strongest. What is the stance of the Blue Dragon Temple and the Blue River Province on this matter? Su Yuan asked again. Qin Yu said, Of course they're on my side. How can Denai support the 9 Spirits Hall by himself? The Blue Dragon Temple, the Blue River Province, and my Star Pavilion announce that the 9 Spirits Hall will be destroyed. Given Denai's little power, he basically doesn't need to do anything. Once he knows that the 3 of us are besieging him, he will flee on his own. Very good. Su Yuan smiled. Xiao Yu, let me ask you again. How many people from the 9 Spirits Hall are determined to follow Denai? And how many Ziyuoists do you have in the Qin dynasty? Su Yuan continues to ask. Most Ziyuoists follow experts and know that the 9 Spirits Hall will be destroyed. Therefore, very few of them will follow him. But the Nine Spirits Hall has a history of 1,000 years, so I estimate that there are about several hundred people who are determined to follow him. Qin Yu thinks for a while and answers. As for my star pavilion, I have 10,000 people in the Qin dynasty. Su Yuan ponders for a moment. Then he looks at Qin Yu and asks, I remember that Zayashinists have a holy sense that can detect other people. Yes, the range of the holy sense is related to a person's soul power. The higher the soul power, the wider the range of the holy sense. When detecting other people, you can usually detect people of the same level as you or weaker than you. It's usually very hard to detect people stronger than you unless they don't restrain their aura. What's the difference between experts? Su Yuan asks again. Qin Yu says confidently, any one of us, Fei, Xiaohei and I can kill Deny. Any one of my 4 guardians can pin him down. Su Yuan ponders for a while, and a faint smile appears on his face. Su Yuan, do you have a countermeasure? His eyes brighten as he asks. Su Yuan says smilingly, it's very easy to deal with this. But a more detailed strategy has to be formulated according to the enemy's actions. But as a precaution, I do have a simple little stratagem. Qin Yu is delighted in his heart. He says at once, Uncle Su, quickly tell me about it. Su Yuan gently waves his fan and says, first, since there are 10,000 Zuyoists, we'll send 5,000 Zuyoists to the border of the Qin dynasty based on the range of their holy senses. They'll occasionally patrol and search with their holy senses. This will be the first defense. Second, the capital doesn't occupy a large area, so we only need 1,000 Zuyoists on the 4 city walls to cover the whole area with their holy senses. When they're tired, they can take turns to search and defend. But Xiao Yu also said that holy senses can only search for people whose power is weaker than his or her own. If a powerful person comes in, he might not be able to find them. Therefore, we'll send some pretty powerful Zuyoists here and there. Third, the Imperial Palace. The Imperial Palace is only so large. We'll send the 10 most powerful Zuyoists among the 10,000 Zuyoists. Their holy senses will definitely be able to cover the whole area. Finally, one of the 3 Xiaoyu brothers must be in charge of the Pure Forest Garden. Su Yuan's stratagem is the simplest defense. In the beginning, Qin Yu guessed that Deny was going to assassinate him, so his mind was in a mess. Now that he has heard Su Yuan's analysis, there is no problem at all. Su Yuan says again, you haven't seen Deny for some time, so who knows if he's made any breakthroughs in his power? Therefore, no matter what happens, we absolutely can't be careless. Fourth, we'll use the trick of substituting peaches for peaches in the Pure Forest Garden. We'll ask other people to live here and pretend to be your father or Uncle Feng. Even if Deny goes out in person, he'll end up in vain when he finally arrives here. Instead, we can seize the opportunity to kill him. Qin Yu cannot help feeling ashamed in his heart. When he heard the first 3 stratagems, he thought that they were absolutely foolproof. But he has not seen Deny for 10 years, so who knows if Deny has reached the late Dongxu stage. If he has, even Qin Yu will find it extremely difficult to deal with him. These 4 points are part 1 of the stratagem. They're precautionary measures. Su Yuan says smilingly. Qin Yu is startled. Su Yuan continues. The second stratagem is to advance. There are also 2 points. First, we'll send people to spread the news that the Nine Spirits Hall has been destroyed to the whole underwater Shuya world, so that the subordinates of the Nine Spirits Hall will be disappointed in the Nine Spirits Hall, and Deny's subordinates will be alarmed. Qin Yu bursts out laughing. Isn't this stirring up people's hearts? Presumably, after the Nine Spirits Hall has been destroyed, most of those people will leave Deny. Second, we'll order your subordinates to get to know the people of the Nine Spirits Hall, and try to communicate with those people by Deny's side. If we can get some moles among the people by Deny's side, it'll be easier to deal with them. Qin Yu's eyes brighten. When the time comes, many people in the Nine Spirits Hall will definitely leave Deny's side. And those people who leave Deny will naturally get to know those people who follow him. It will naturally not be hard to find some ways to get in touch with those people who follow Deny, using holy weapons, holy pills and so on to get some moles by Deny's side. With moles, they will naturally be able to destroy Deny, Su Yuan says smilingly while fanning himself with his feather fan. These are just the 2 parts of the stratagem that I made without knowing how Deny will act. If this Deny is too weak, these 2 points will be enough to finish him off. If he's a bit smarter, I'll have other methods. Seeing Su Yuan's deliberately mysterious appearance, Qin Yu cannot help giving a smile. Uncle Su, if you were Su Yuan, what would you do? Qin Yu asks. I'll plant them deep inside the Qianlong continent, and use mortals to fight mortals. Only in this way can I catch them off guard, and do the most harm, Su Yuan says indifferently. It's just that there are different ways to carry out this stratagem, and each of them has different effects. But each of them is better than using Zooists to attack directly. Su Yuan gives an indifferent smile. But I've already known those several methods by heart. I'd like to see how far Deny can go. Ho Fei blinks his eyes a couple of times. Then he looks at Qin Yu and says, Big brother, those Zooists are barbarians compared to this old man. Qin Yu feels completely relaxed at the moment. He says smilingly, Fei, how can you possibly imagine how formidable my Uncle Su is? Moreover, the reason why Zooists don't have enough stratagems is that in the Xiaoyao world, the strong are respected. What's the use of stratagems in front of absolute power? If I'm exceedingly powerful, and have my holy sense spread all over the Qianlong continent, I'll definitely kill Deny as soon as he appears. No stratagem can compare with this move of mine. It's a pity that my power isn't so great, so I can only rely on Uncle Su's stratagem. When a person's power has reached a certain level, no stratagem will be effective. Xiaoyu, in my opinion, that Deny will most likely assassinate the Qin clan's descendants. If he fails, perhaps his targets will be the Qin dynasty's ministers. You should make some preparations. If those ministers die, the stability of the dynasty will be greatly affected. Su Yuan advises. 1,000 people. These are the troops that Deny thinks are most loyal to him. Taking these 1,000 people with him, Deny leaves the Nine Spirits Hall. When he leaves the Nine Spirits Hall, he also takes away all the treasures in the Nine Spirits Hall. 3 of the 4 majesties of the Nine Spirits Hall have died on the Qianlong continent. Now only the 9th brother is left. The Blue Dragon Temple, the Blue River Province, and the Stellar Tower have jointly announced that the Nine Spirits Hall will cease to exist from now on. Anyone who captures Deny will be granted a top-grade holy weapon by the Stellar Tower. As for the Zooists who follow Deny, they will be regarded as traitors to the entire underwater Xiaoyao world, and will be killed without mercy. This order spreads through the entire underwater Xiaoyao world at an astonishing speed. This order was made by Qin Yu after he contacted Azure Dragon and Old Freak Three-Eyed, according to Su Yuan's suggestion. As soon as this order is spread, the Nine Spirits Hall falls apart in an instant. Those who flee will die. Deny transforms into a huge purple demon aquatic dragon and rips apart 10 odd Zooists who are trying to flee with his dragon claws. Deny has long expected that his subordinates might rebel, so the 1,000 people he took away that day were the most loyal, and the most loyal ones among the several tens of thousands of people in the Nine Spirits Hall. Unfortunately, even though these 1,000 people were the most loyal, some of them still defected when faced with that order. Those who capture Deny will be granted a top-grade holy weapon. Those who follow Deny will be regarded as traitors to the entire underwater Xiaoyao world, and will be killed without mercy. These 2 orders make those loyal Zooists' hearts beat like drums. That will be regarded as traitors to the entire underwater Xiaoyao world. All of you listen up. From now on, those who betray me will also die. If you don't betray me, I'll guarantee that you won't die. Deny says to the remaining 800-odd people. Half of these 800-odd people are absolutely loyal to Deny. Even though the other half are loyal, they are worried about their own lives. Deny says calmly, Don't worry. Now that the Nine Spirits Hall has fallen apart, who knows who I took away at that time? They simply don't know who you are, so naturally they can't kill you. Those Zooists feel a bit more reassured. Moreover, I won't push you to your deaths. Deny says smilingly. I have all the treasures of the Nine Spirits Hall with me. They were originally meant for the several tens of thousands of people in the Nine Spirits Hall, but now they're meant for the several hundreds of you. Each of you has an extremely large number of holy weapons and holy pills. The eyes of those Zeoists brighten. They also know that when Denai left, he took away all the treasures of the Nine Spirits Hall with him. Yen Mao, Yen Xian, each of you takes 300 men to secretly go to the northernmost part of the Black Flood Dragon Cave, under the command of the Stellar Tower, and gather there in the sea area near the Qianlong continent. I'll also take the remaining men to gather there. We're going to advance separately. Denai has divided his men into 3 groups, and left them to his 2 most trusted subordinates. Yen Mao and Yen Xian have been with Denai since they were little, and regard him as their father. The 2 of them immediately take the order. Don't worry, everybody. Throw away your Jade Identity cards, and go to the Black Flood Dragon Cave to get new Jade Identity cards. From now on, you'll be members of the Black Flood Dragon Cave, under the command of the Stellar Tower on the surface, and my men in secret. Denai says smilingly. Those Zeoists are greatly reassured. Along the way, nobody will know that you're my men, so you don't need to worry at all. Denai says confidently. When we reach the area of the Black Flood Dragon Cave, we'll choose a place in the sea area near the Qianlong continent as our base. Denai looks at those slightly reassured Zeoists and says, don't worry. If you follow me, I'll give you more treasures than any other Zeoists. Moreover, nobody will know your identities on the surface. Remember one thing, nobody is allowed to snitch. From now on, the transmitters will be distributed uniformly. Only special people will have transmitters. The others won't be allowed to contact the outside world. Every group of 10 people will form a group. Anyone who escapes will be killed without mercy. Those in the same group will also be killed without mercy. Denai's voice is cold. Those Zeoists' hearts tremble. Denai comforts them smilingly again. Don't worry. As long as you don't betray me, you'll live very comfortably. But if a member of a group escapes and the other members are killed, don't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame the one who escaped. He's the one who harmed you. The joint punishment system allows the members of a group to check each other. After all, their lives are at stake. Afterwards, the transmitters and groups will be distributed uniformly. All right, let's go in 3 groups. Denai orders. Led by Denai, Yen Xian and Yen Mao. Denai's group is divided into 3 small groups. They head for the Black Flood Dragon Cave in the Stellar Tower along different routes. Qin Yu, even if I can't kill you, I'll kill your relatives one by one. Right, your Qin clan is still the royal family of the Qin dynasty, isn't it? I heard that the ministers of a dynasty are very important. Killing some of them will probably give you a headache. There is a faint cold smile on Denai's face. Chapter 186. On the bank of the Jade Lake, Qin Yu and Li Er were standing side by side, looking at a figure not far away. At this moment, the sky was dark, and dark clouds covered the sky. The whole sky had a strange dark red color, as if the whole sky had turned into a huge furnace. A purple tribulation cloud floated under the sky, and thousands of lightning snakes flashed. Boom! A purple lightning bolt came down with the power to destroy everything, smashing towards the figure standing proudly below. At this moment, the figure below was Xiao He, and this tribulation was the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation. Xiao He raised its head and stared at the tribulation cloud with its sharp eagle eyes. When the lightning bolt came down, Xiao He suddenly screamed. A whirlpool appeared with Xiao He's eagle mouth as the center. The purple lightning bolt was absorbed by the whirlpool, and then went into Xiao He's stomach. Devouring lightning was Xiao He's best move to pass the tribulation. Li Er, this is the 3rd bolt of heavenly lightning. When others pass the tribulation, they rely on formations and restrictions to resist first, and then rely on spiritual weapons to resist. Xiao He, however, mainly devours lightning, and instead treats it as a treasure to improve its power. Qin Yu said with a carefree smile. Li Er looked at Xiao He in the distance and said with admiration in her eyes, Big brother Qin Yu, Xiao He is a special divine beast. Divine beasts are also divided into upper, middle, and lower ranks. Xiao Hei's rank is definitely not lower than Fei's. Qin Yu's eyes narrowed with a smile. He was not happy for Xiao Hei, but for Li Er calling him Big Brother Qin Yu. The scene that led to this was something that he and Hou Fei had planned a month ago. They had Hou Fei take action, while Qin Yu pretended to be a fool and put on a good show. In the end, Li Er was forced to call Qin Yu Big Brother. To this day, Qin Yu was still very proud of this. Of course, he could only bury this smugness in his heart. Boom! The fourth bolt of heavenly lightning struck down once again. For a moment, sand and pebbles were sent flying. The heavenly lightning's might was frightening. However, Xiao Hei extended its wings and opened its beak, creating a vortex. A portion of the lightning energy was absorbed directly, while the rest landed on Xiao Hei's body. Awesome! The feeling of bathing in heavenly lightning is awesome. Xiao Hei's voice resounded through the heavens and earth. Xiao Hei even wantonly spread his wings. When the lightning struck Xiao Hei's wings, most of it was absorbed by the wings. Only a small part of it struck the wings, causing negligible damage. Bathing in the heavenly thunder. I don't think there are many divine beasts that can do this. Qin Yu was very happy. Li Er also smiled faintly and said, "Last time, Fei went through the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation with ease." Looking at Xiao Hei's current situation, I reckon that Xiao Hei will have an even easier time than Fei. Look, this is already the 5th bolt of heavenly lightning. As soon as Li Er finished speaking, the 5th bolt of heavenly lightning struck Xiao Hei's body. Xiao Hei wantonly spread his wings. A faint blood-red light flowed on the surface of Xiao Hei's wings. At the same time, streaks of lightning flashed on the surface of Xiao Hei's body. This time, Xiao Hei didn't use his mouth to swallow, because he also felt that the heavenly lightning was slightly pressuring. The 5th bolt of heavenly lightning struck Xiao Hei's body. A blood-red light flowed rapidly. Swish! Like cotton absorbing water. The blood-red light absorbed more than half of the heavenly lightning. The remaining heavenly lightning didn't even hurt Xiao Hei at all. Just like that, the 5th bolt of heavenly lightning was broken. Xiao Hei, don't be too careless. After the 6th bolt of heavenly lightning, let's go back. Qin Yu laughed loudly and said. Although Qin Yu reminded Xiao Hei not to be too careless, the last sentence obviously showed that Qin Yu didn't care too much about the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation. After all, Qin Yu had seen Hou Fei go through the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation before. Naturally, he knew that the 6th bolt of heavenly lightning was slightly more powerful than the 5th. Don't worry, Big. Xiao Hei's voice suddenly stopped. Qin Yu's expression changed greatly. Li Er also took 2 steps forward and stared at the tribulation cloud in the sky. Rumble, the whole world rumbled. At the same time, countless electric snakes appeared in the dark red sky again and gathered towards the tribulation cloud. Like a group of electric snakes being controlled, the electric snakes gathered towards the tribulation cloud again. What's going on? Normally, the tribulation will be over after the energy in the tribulation cloud bombards it. Why is this tribulation cloud gathering lightning again, just like it did at the beginning? Qin Yu immediately has a bad feeling in his heart. Since ancient times, the heavenly tribulation had been bombarded again and again until the last strike. Only at the beginning would the heavenly tribulation gather the heavenly lightning and form the tribulation cloud. However, no one had ever seen the heavenly tribulation gather the heavenly lightning again halfway through the 6th tribulation to increase the energy of the tribulation cloud. Li Er's eyes were unprecedentedly sharp as she looked at the sky coldly. Brother Qin Yu, let me use the secret method of my clan to check. Li Er said to Qin Yu. Then, Li Er sat down with her legs crossed. Li Er's hand turned into 1,000 hands and rays of green light shot out from Li Er's body. Li Er was bathed in the green light, and her eyes were closed. Li Er's lips moved slightly and rays of golden light came out from Li Er's mouth. In an instant, Li Er opened her eyes and shouted at Blackie. Blackie, go all out. Don't have the slightest intention of playing games. Otherwise, be careful that your soul disperses, and not even a trace of your corpse remains. Xiao Hei nodded slightly, but his eyes were faintly red. Qin Yu still didn't know what clan Li Er was from. However, He knew that Li Er's cultivation speed was extremely slow, but many of her supernatural powers were simply unfathomable. According to Li Er, this was a special secret method of her clan. Since Li Er said so, it was obvious that Xiaohei was likely to be killed by the sixth tribulation. Whoosh! As if the heavens and earth were breathing, the speed of absorbing the heavenly lightning instantly increased by 100 times. Just as the sound of breathing faded, all the heavenly lightning was absorbed by the tribulation cloud. Immediately, the tribulation cloud began to tremble. Boom! Speed, a terrifying speed to the extreme. A dark purple lightning as thick as an arm appeared. The thickness of an arm was very small compared to the heavenly lightning. After absorbing the heavenly lightning twice, the entire tribulation cloud turned into a single bolt of heavenly lightning. Its power was terrifying. Xiaohei went crazy and his eyes glowed red. His wings were fully opened, and the blood-red light on his body surged out, covering an area of 2 to 3 meters. Xiaohei roared again, and the whirlpool appeared again. This time, the whirlpool was even more rapid, and its area was even larger. The arm-thick, purple-black lightning bolt shot towards the whirlpool. The whirlpool instantly shattered. That lightning was too strong, and Xiaohei's whirlpool couldn't withstand it at all. The lightning shot towards the 2 to 3 meters thick red light, and like a needle piercing through thick snow, it easily pierced through. During the process, the red light absorbed a small portion of the lightning, but the majority of the lightning was still there. Screech! A crazy screech. Qin Yu could feel that Xiaohei was on the verge of death, and his body couldn't help but tremble. His extremely hard wings shattered and blood flew out. Faced with the might of that thunderbolt, even Xiaohei's powerful wings are unable to contend against it. In an instant his skin and flesh are struck black. This scene makes Qin Yu on one side almost go crazy. Suddenly, Xiaohei's entire body emitted a pitch-black light. That black light was very pure, and even the surrounding light was completely swallowed up. At the same time, Xiaohei's body completely disappeared, leaving behind only that black light. The lightning finally bombarded that black light. So it's him. Li Er's eyes lit up, and she murmured in a low voice. However, Qin Yu didn't notice Li Er's voice. At this moment, his entire mind was focused on Xiaohei. Having followed him since he was young, if Xiaohei died, Qin Yu simply didn't know how to bear it. The world returned to its calm, and once again returned to its previous azure color. Apart from the area where the tribulation occurred being scorched black, the other areas were completely unaffected. The black light was still boiling and twisting. After a long time, the black light slowly calmed down, and in an instant, it turned into an eagle beast with a human body. Feeling its aura, Qin Yu immediately determined that this was Xiaohei. Xiaohei's body was slightly thin and weak, like the body of a teenager. Big brother. Xiaohei looked at Qin Yu and said, "Are you all right?" Qin Yu felt his whole body break out in a sweat. Just now he was really scared and on edge. Xiaohei said with a smile. For some reason, the power of the final lightning of the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation increased greatly. If it wasn't for the fact that I went all out at the end, maybe I really would have been blown away by it. However, after going all out, although I'm a lot weaker now, some of the hidden dangers left behind by using the forbidden technique have been almost completely eliminated. Qin Yu's heart was filled with joy. Ever since Xiaohei used the forbidden technique, Qin Yu felt that Xiaohei had changed. Xiaohei, who had followed Qin Yu in the past, had an ice-cold temperament. But after using the forbidden technique, Xiaohei had an aura of chaos and terror. At this moment, Qin Yu once again felt that Xiaohei's temperament had changed. It had become pure, or to be more precise, pitch black and ice-cold. Big brother Qin Yu, there's something I have to remind you of. Li Er didn't have the slightest hint of a smile on her face. She just looked at Qin Yu. Now that his brother Xiaohei had successfully transcended the tribulation, Qin Yu was in a very good mood. He said with a smile, "Li Er, if there's anything, just say it. Haha, don't cry. Xiaohei has transcended the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation. This is something to be excited about." Li Er sighed. Big brother Qin Yu, if my divination using the secret technique of my clan is correct, in the future, When you transcend the tribulation, the power of the tribulation will be extremely great. Please be careful. Qingyu was startled. What do you mean? Qingyu always feels that Li Er's words are somewhat mysterious. Li Er said with a shake of her head. Heaven's secrets can't be divulged. I've already violated the rules of my clan by saying so much. I can only remind you to try your best to improve your power, and not rush to transcend the tribulation. Before transcending the tribulation, try your best to make your power as high as possible, and make ample preparations. Seeing Li Er's current appearance, Qingyu knows that Li Er doesn't want to say anything more. Qingyu gently nods. He has also kept Li Er's words in mind. Because the Nine Spirits Hall is some distance away from the Qianlong continent, it will take Dinai's men a very long time to reach the Qianlong continent. More than half a year after Xiaohe transcended the tribulation, the Qin dynasty, which had been peaceful for more than half a year, finally starts to shake. Poof! Blood splatters and heads fall down. Several hundred cold-faced Zuyoists immediately chase after those few Zuyoists to kill them. Dinai's men unexpectedly dared to invade the Qin dynasty. Looks like they're tired of living. The Zuyoist leader says with a cold laugh. Could it be you don't know that Zuyoists who trespass in the Qin dynasty will be killed without exception? Those 7 to 8 Zuyoists look at each other. At the moment, they are surrounded by so many people so naturally they can't escape. My lord. Suddenly, a short-haired Zuyoist kneels down and says while weeping. My lord, even though I followed Dinai, I had no choice. Dinai took away all our transmitters so nobody can contact the outside world. We were forced to do so. Shan Ling, you even dared to betray my lord. The Zuyoists on Dinai's side stare at that Zuyoist furiously. The short-haired Zuyoist however rebukes angrily. Betrayal? That Dinai used the guilt by association method to completely restrict our freedom. Even his lair is covered with bewildering formations. We simply can't get out, and we don't even know where we live. We can only obey his orders. I've had enough of this kind of life. The Zuyoist leader's eyes brighten. He says, tell me, where is Dinai? If you tell me, not only will I spare your life, I'll also give you a great reward. Dinai is very careful. We Zuyoists usually stay inside, and there are huge bewildering formations outside. When we come out, we have to follow the guardians. In just a few turns, we've already traveled several 100,000 li. We simply can't determine where Dinai's lair is. Dinai's lair is only known to him and the guardians, right? Exactly, my lord. The short-haired Zuyoist says respectfully. The Zuyoist leader of the Stellar Tower frowns for a while, then says, spare this Zuyoist who has pledged allegiance to us. Kill all the other Zuyoists. Spare us. 2 of the extremely unyielding Zuyoists immediately kneel down and say. The Stellar Tower leader says with a cold laugh. Do you know where Dinai's lair is? Those 2 Zuyoists are stupefied, then shake their heads. In the beginning you didn't pledge allegiance, but in the end you begged for mercy. Moreover, you were completely useless. People like you are the most despicable. The Zuyoist leader gives a cold humph. The flying sword under his feet takes the lives of those 2 Zuyoists in an instant. Afterwards, several hundred other Zuyoists release their flying swords at the same time. Countless flying swords soar into the sky and pierce those few Zuyoists' bodies in an instant. Blood splatters everywhere. Only that short-haired Zuyoist is spared. This evening, battles have taken place in quite a few places on the border of the Qin dynasty. 10 Zuyoists have appeared in each battle. However, the number of Zuyoists dispatched by Dinai in his first attack is far greater than the number of Zuyoists killed. Many of them have already entered the Qin dynasty. The revenge killing is about to begin. Chapter 187. In a certain underwater mountain range, under the control of the Black Flood Dragon Cave, under the Stellar Tower. Nobody knows that this mountain range at the bottom of the sea is the current lair of the 9 Demons Hall's sole surviving majesty Dinai. There is a great formation set up in this lair, so apart from Dinai, the 2 Vice Valley Masters Yen Mao and Yen Xian, and the 6 Guardians, nobody else knows the way out. Holding a jade cup, Deni is enjoying the taste of fine wine. Yin Xian, what's the result of the 10 squads we send out? Deni asks indifferently. Yin Xian and Yin Mao are Deni's most trusted subordinates. Yin Xian says at once. Valley Master, this time we sent out 10 squads to infiltrate the Qin dynasty from different places. But the Stellar Tower really has a lot of defenders, so 4 squads were still killed. Oh, 4 squads were still killed. Deni slightly frowns. This time the 10 squads he sent out all entered from different directions. Some entered directly through the city gate in broad daylight. Some entered from some nook in the gloomy mountain range. Some took a big detour and entered the wilderness from the sea area, then entered the Qin dynasty. Even so, 4 of the 10 squads were still destroyed. Deni gives several cold laughs. Looks like that Qin Yu really took a lot of trouble to protect his family. Yin Xian also adds. From this it can be seen how much Qin Yu values his family. Only in this way can Valley Master kill Qin Yu's family members to make Qin Yu grieved. Only in this way can Valley Master vent his anger a little. That's reasonable. Deni gives a smile. If he doesn't value his family members, killing them won't have any effect on him. So what's the point of me doing it? I'll only make him grieved and miserable. The more grieved and miserable he is, the happier I'll be. 6 squads, 60 people. After entering the capital, they'll be divided into 12 squads. I wonder how many people they'll be able to kill. Deni drinks up the wine in his mouth, then stands up and leaves directly. The 2 brothers Yin Xian and Yin Mao see him off with a bow. Big brother, Valley Master hates Qin Yu to the bone so much that he's almost obsessed. However, the Stellar Pavilion is much more powerful than us. The Blue Dragon Temple and the Blue River Province are also on Qin Yu's side. If this continues, Yin Mao frowned and transmitted. Even though the 2 of them are absolutely loyal to Deni, they are also a little confused about the future. However, the 2 of them can only discuss this matter through holy sense communication. They do not dare to let Deni know about it. Yin Xian laughs coldly, then uses his spiritual sense to say, Second brother, you and I were both brought up by the Valley Master. All the other highnesses are dead. Do you think we can still betray them? What's more, those who go out to do things are ordinary people. Us brothers and the 6 great protectors don't leave the valley. There's no danger. After pondering for a moment, Yin Xian said, Second brother, all you have to do is work hard in your cultivation. Kill as many of Qin Yu's relatives as you can. Don't worry about the rest. With the Valley Master hiding so deeply, I don't believe that Qin Yu can find him. Yin Mao also nodded. After all, anyone with a bit of brain can see that Deni is at a disadvantage. But his only advantage at the moment is that he is in the dark. And Qin Yu is in the open. Deni can attack Qin Yu in the dark, but Qin Yu can find where Deni is, so he cannot attack him even if he has the power. In the capital of the Qin dynasty, 2 Zhuoists are having a discussion in a garret on a city gate tower. Hey brother Yen, we've been here for more than half a year, but those remnants of the 9 spirits hall just haven't shown up. We've even been forced to use our holy senses to keep an eye on them. This is really, says a short man. The other tall and sturdy man is sitting with legs crossed. At this moment he also opens his eyes, saying, Be careful. If something goes wrong, Tower Master will be furious, and you'll lose your little life. At this moment, the tall and sturdy man's face changes color. Zhuoists have appeared. There are over 10 Zhuoists within a radius of 1000 m on this city gate tower. In an instant, the tall and sturdy man tells the Zhuoists not far away, through holy sense communication. Figures can be seen rushing out from various small garrets on the city gate tower like lightning. Through holy sense communication, nearly 100 Zhuoists, within a radius of several thousand m, start to rush towards a certain direction in an instant. It's broad daylight. Hurry up. Don't let those mortals see you. The squad leader in charge of the group of 100 guards shouts to his subordinates, through holy sense communication at once. Immediately, those 100 guards all reach their top speed. Like strong winds, they are already 100 m away in the blink of an eye. Only Xiantian experts can barely see them moving at such a speed. But how many Xiantian experts are there on the Qianlong continent? How many Sciention experts can there be in such a short distance? Poof, blood splashes out. Pung. His flesh is torn apart while he is still alive. You've killed the wrong person. I'm a guard of the Stellar Tower. Among the 5 people being attacked, a thin green-haired man immediately says to the attacking Zuyuoists through holy sense communication. Zuyuoists are busy killing, so they basically have no time to talk, and can only use holy sense communication. You've killed the wrong person? A guard of the Stellar Tower? That squad leader stands in front of the green-haired Zuyuoist, and says with a cold smile. In the blink of an eye, 4 of the 5 Zuyuoists have been killed. This is the only one left. Lord, I'm really a member of the Stellar Tower. I don't believe you can sense my jade identity card. The green-haired Zuyuoist says hurriedly in a panic at once. The squad leader says with a cold smile. Your jade identity card is indeed a jade identity card of the Stellar Tower. But Tower Master has ordered us to kill all Zuyuoists who enter the territory of the Qin dynasty. The green-haired Zuyuoist still wants to quibble. There is a faint teasing smile on the squad leader's face. Brat, don't make up stories. Let me tell you, Tower Master has ordered Manager Yezhong that none of the Stellar Tower's troops are allowed to enter the territory of the Qin dynasty. The green-haired Zuyuoist rolls his eyes and says, Lord, I'm one of the 10,000 Zuyuoists who came here at the beginning. I'm a guard arranged to guard the border of the Qin dynasty. The squad leader is stupefied. That's possible. There are indeed 5,000 troops guarding the border. Didn't Tower Master order you not to leave without permission? The squad leader asks doubtfully. At the moment, he still hasn't relaxed his vigilance. The green-haired Zuyuoist is delighted in his heart. Looks like there is hope. Alas, Lord, those few people just now were with me. You killed the wrong people. You killed your own people. The green-haired Zuyuoist says sadly. The squad leader appears to be stupefied. At the moment, the green-haired Zuyuoist has already found a way to escape. However, poof. A sharp sword pierces through the green-haired Zuyuoist's stomach. The green-haired Zuyuoist stares at the squad leader in front of him with wide-open eyes and says in disbelief. Why did you? Bro, you're really clever. What a pity. How could Tower Master not have thought of this loophole? The identity jade tablets of each of our 10,000 guards have been remodeled. When we sensed you with our holy senses for the first time, we knew you weren't one of us. The squad leader gives a brilliant smile. Then why did you tell me so much? This Jin Dan stage Zuyuoist has been stabbed in a vital part. Even though he is already badly injured, he still wants to know the answer. The squad leader says solemnly. Well, who told you to come so late? We've been waiting here for more than half a year, but didn't see your shadow at all. We were bored, so of course we wanted to tease you a bit. Haha. Those nearly 100 Zuyuoists all burst out laughing. Some mortals in the surroundings are puzzled as to why those big men in the distance are laughing. However, seeing how strong those nearly 100 big men are, nobody dares to go forward. Brothers, take care of them. Let's go. After destroying the corpses, this squad of 100 slowly and unhurriedly enters the city gate. Afterwards, they go up the city wall and return to their posts. Almost at the same time, the other 5-man squad stealthily try to break into the capital from various places. However, the defense of the capital can be said to be impenetrable. One squad after another is massacred. The Stellar Tower's guards, who haven't killed anyone for more than half a year, wantonly tease these guys. However, the Stellar Tower's guards are too careless. When they kill a squad, another squad will appear immediately afterwards and continue to enter the capital from the same position. This is because the guards who were originally guarding this place will go and kill the previous squad. Therefore, the squad that appears later can enter the capital safely. If the Stellar Tower's guards are vigilant and keep watch with their holy senses, they will very likely catch the second 5-man squad. However, there are obviously not many vigilant guards. Of the 12 5-man squads, there are still 5 5-man squads that have entered the capital using this method. As for entering the capital through the air, they simply don't even think about it, because the entire sky above the capital has been sealed by restrictive spells. Even a small bird will not be able to fly in. In Prince Yu's mansion in the capital, Qin Yu was sitting on a chair. As for Yen Rui and Liang Tan, they were in front of Qin Yu. Yen Rui was wearing a black battle armor. That battle armor specially outlined Yen Rui's curvaceous figure. As for Liang Tan, he had a solemn expression and was looking straight ahead. Tower head. There are alarms all over the city gate tower. Various squads are trying to sneak into the capital. We still don't know if any of them have broken through the defense and entered. Liang Tan says solemnly. Qin Yu nods and says smilingly, "That's pretty awesome. Zuyuists everywhere in the capital should be a bit more careful. Check them carefully one by one. As for the Zuyuists in the Imperial Palace, I don't think I need to say much. Don't worry, Towerhead. No matter how many of Dinai's men come, they will all die. Absolutely none of them will succeed." Liang Tan says confidently. Qin Yu nods smilingly. Of course he is not worried. Qin Yu has not only arranged the Stellar Tower's guards on the borders of the Qin dynasty, but also on the city walls. Moreover, there are over 1,000 Zuyuists in the capital at will. They are monitoring everywhere in the capital at will. The Imperial Palace is even more impregnable. Lord, the defense in the Imperial Palace is too tight. More than half of the surviving 25 brothers have died in a short while. A scholar-looking Zuyuist is sitting in a tea house. After hearing his subordinate's message via Holy Sense communication, he orders, "Change the target. Attack the prince's descendants and ministers inside the capital. Kill as many as you can." Yes. The scholar sips a mouthful of tea and says with a sigh, "Valley Head, you're sending us to our deaths." There is a faint bitter smile on the scholar's face. But they have no choice but to come, because if they don't, what Dinai will bring them will not be death but a fate worse than death. All of a sudden, "Brother, you've really got guts to break into the Qin dynasty's capital." A youngster walks towards the scholar. The scholar's face changes color greatly. He is unexpectedly unable to see through this youngster's cultivation level. Late Jin Dan stage. A puny late Jin Dan stage cultivator dares to break into the capital? You're really courting death. These words rise in the scholar's ears. At the same time, the youngster also goes to his side. However, at this moment the scholar is no longer moving, because he is already dead. This youngster is none other than one of the 10 captains of the Stellar Tower's 10,000 guards. Ayo! A terrifying cry rises. Immediately afterwards there is a series of explosions. More than half of the mansion of the Minister of War is destroyed. Swish! 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 In an instant, more than 10 figures appear in the mansion of the Minister of War at the same time. All of them have very unsightly expressions. Every important minister is protected by 3 Zuyuists. However, the true form of the Zuyuist who attacked just now is unexpectedly an octopus. When he was attacked, he transformed into his huge true form. When his attack failed, he even self-detonated in anger, directly killing more than half of the poor Minister of War's family, and even the Minister of War himself. Lord, those 3 Zuyuists who are responsible for protecting the Minister of War are now in fear and trepidation. Pa! A large man with an ice-cold expression suddenly slaps one of them in the face, then says coldly, 3 people can't even defeat 1 person. You only needed to hold on for a while, and we would have arrived. But you couldn't even hold on for a while. Prepare to be punished by Towerhead. Hold on? The enemy has already self-detonated. How can they hold on? These 3 Zuyuists are also very sullen. At the same time, wanton attacks occur everywhere in the capital. Of the 25 Zuyuists who entered the capital, more than half died in the Imperial Palace. However, they still killed several tens eunuchs, several tens palace maids and a concubine. The remaining 10 Zuyuists also killed several ministers and several hundreds of ordinary people. Seeing this result, Qin Yu's face becomes somewhat unsightly. Towerhead, our guards are only at the Jin Dan stage. Even though we have a large number of people, we still can't kill them in one strike. If we can't kill them in one strike, the enemy's energy alone will be able to kill a great number of ordinary people. Ordinary people are too weak. Yen Rui says helplessly. Qin Yu gives a forced smile. Indeed, in a war between Zooists, even though he has a large number of people, the energy alone is enough to kill ordinary people. This time, a concubine and several ministers have died. As for eunuchs, palace maids and ordinary people, over 100 have died. On the city wall, strengthen the surveillance. So many Zooists unexpectedly broke in. From now on, strengthen the surveillance. The best way is to prevent the enemy from entering the capital. Qin Yu immediately gives an order. The death of a minister of a country, and several of them at that, will indeed have a great impact on the Qin dynasty. However, this time's attack is merely a probing attack. The real attack hasn't come yet. Chapter 188. Valley Master. According to the last news, 25 people entered the capital. When they were attacking the royal palace, one of them self-detonated and killed a powerful figure. It should be the empress or a concubine of the Qin dynasty. Yen Xian reports respectfully. Dinai's eyes immediately brighten. Are you sure? Dinai asks again. Yen Xian nodded and said, Valley Master, according to the information we received, those palace maids in the imperial palace call that woman imperial concubine. Therefore, she is either an empress or an imperial concubine. Very good, what's next? Dinai says with a hint of delight on his face. Yen Xian is startled. However, Yen Mao says, Valley Head, this is the last message. After sending it out, the captain was killed. But according to the plan, the remaining Zooists should be attacking the high-ranking officials in the capital, and some members of the imperial clan living outside the imperial palace. Mortals are very weak. Even a casual wave of energy from a Zooist can kill them. Perhaps the Qin dynasty must have suffered a great loss. Very good. Dinai stands up smilingly. However, according to the situation of this battle, we can find that the Qin dynasty's defense is extremely tight. They have suffered a great loss this time, so their defenses will definitely be strengthened again. I estimate that even if we send more people, it will be very difficult to break through the surveillance of the capital city walls. Yen Xian frowned and said, Valley Master, then what should we do? Yen Xian, I've been thinking for a long time, and I've come up with a wonderful method. Using mortals to fight mortals. Dinai says with a brilliant smile. Yen Xian and Yen Mao were startled. They can defend against Zooists, but how can they defend against mortals? As long as we control a group of mortals and let them attack, we'll definitely catch them off guard. The effect may be even better than when Zooists attack. Dinai says confidently. Yen Xian and Yen Mao's eyes lit up. According to the information obtained from the Ming dynasty, there are assassin organizations and intelligence organizations on the Qianlong continent. Dinai says smilingly, we need cheap pearls and agates at the bottom of the sea, but mortals like them the most. Valley Master, you mean? Yen Xian also thought of it. That's right. Let's use money and treasures to get those assassin organizations to act. Dinai says slowly, but according to the intelligence, there are restrictions on the missions the killer organizations can take. They don't dare to kill the princes of the Qin dynasty. So apart from that, we also need to form our own assassin organization. Build it ourselves? Yen Xian asked, puzzled. Dinai says with a nod, that's right. We'll send several tens Zooists to the Ming dynasty and the Han dynasty to show off their power in front of some Xiantian experts and attract them to join our organization. At the same time, Zooists can also demonstrate the power of Zooists to some big clans, so as to win their support and even take control of some big clans. Dinai's eyes flash. With the Ming dynasty and the Han dynasty as the foundation, we'll establish an assassin organization called Ghost. The highest goal is to kill the members of the royal family of the Qin dynasty. Dinai's eyes are filled with coldness. His highest goal was to kill the members of the royal family. He had never thought of letting those mortal assassins kill Qin Yu. Valley Master is wise. Yen Xian and Yen Mao knelt down on one knee and said happily. When they heard this plan, they felt that it was very feasible. Using mortals against mortals, those Zooists can only use their holy sense to monitor Zooists. Mortals, on the other hand, are unable to monitor them. The assassin organization Ghost. Deny laughs coldly in his mind. Qin Yu, I'm going to let your Qin clan know what ghost means. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In the territory of the Ming Dynasty, one of the few experts of the Ming Dynasty, sky-lifting hand Yuan Shang, is riding a horse on an official road. It is already night time, but he is still rushing forward slowly. Stop. A cold shout is heard. Who is it? Yuan Shang's face changes color. He unexpectedly cannot sense where the person who just spoke is. I'm behind you. The cold voice rises again. Yuan Shang dismounts and turns around. His movements are extremely smooth. He does not attack because he knows that if this person could appear behind him without making any noise and wanted to kill him, he would have been killed long ago. Yuan Shang's face changes color greatly because the person in front of him is unexpectedly standing in midair. Only the legendary Shangxian can stand in midair without the help of any tools. You're a Shangxian? Yuan Shang finds this hard to believe. Yes. The strong man in cyan directly admits it. In fact, he is only a Zuyuist. I can see that your aptitude is not bad, and you're already a Xiantian expert. I want to take you as my disciple. Are you willing? Hearing that a Shangxian wants to take him as his disciple, Yuan Shang is stupefied. Oh, you're not willing? The cyan-clothed man says with a frown. No, I'm willing. Disciple pays respect to you, master. Yuan Shang immediately kneels down and says, a Shangxian is a supreme existence. Countless warriors want to become a Shangxian's disciple, but are unable to do so. Now that a Shangxian wants to take him as his disciple, how can Yuan Shang possibly refuse? After all, a Shangxian is simply too attractive. In just 3 months, an enormous assassin organization has been established. This assassin organization is based in the Ming Dynasty and the Han Dynasty. It has several tens of large clans with more than 100 years of history working for it. These large clans have all agreed to take their disciples as disciples because of the Shangxian. In addition, a large number of Xiantian experts have also joined this assassin organization. To be able to become a Shangxian is the dream of every top-notch warrior. Such a powerful organization with a large number of Xiantian experts naturally attracts some Hotian experts. Like a whirlwind sweeping away clouds, the power of this assassin organization naturally extends to the Qin dynasty. After 3 months, an assassin organization second only to the Skynet has been established. This assassin organization is called Ein Sol. In Prince Yu's mansion. Uncle Su, you were right at the time. In the last few months, an assassin organization has indeed emerged. Qin Yu says smilingly. After taking a foundation-building pill, Qin Yu used his own internal energy to cleanse Su Yuan's meridians and marrow and help him absorb the power of the pill. Now Su Yuan is already a Xiantian expert. His appearance is also that of a 40 or 50-year-old expert. Foundation-building pills are not something that ordinary small Xiuzhen schools can take out. They are extremely precious. Qin Yu has used some materials in the treasure-storing palace in the Nine Spirits Hall to refine quite a few foundation-building pills. A foundation-building pill and Qin Yu's personal intervention will naturally allow a mortal to become a Xiantian expert in a short while. Assimilating into the mortal world and fighting against mortals as mortals. But this Deny is only a little clever. He unexpectedly used the assassin organization's method. This is the easiest way to deal with him, Su Yuan says while fanning himself with a feather fan. It seems he does not care about this at all. Qin Yu looks at Uncle Su. Don't worry. For the time being, you don't need to send out your men. Since he used mortals, my mortals will be enough to deal with him. Su Yuan says confidently while slightly fanning himself with his feather fan. Qin Yu nods smilingly. In the evening, Qin Yu is reading a book alone under the lamp when suddenly someone knocks on the door. Father, it's you. Qin Yu opens the door. Seeing that it is unexpectedly his father Qin De outside, he cannot help feeling very happy. According to Su Yuan's plan of substituting the plum tree for the peach tree, the ones living in the pure forest garden are not Qin De and Finjiuzi. Instead, Qin De and Finjiuzi are living in Prince Yu's mansion. Chinda nods smilingly, then looks at the book on the desk, saying with a smile, "You're still reading in the evening?" "I'm bored." Chinyu immediately sits aside. Chinda picks up the book and reads it. Gains and losses? This book was also written by a great Taoist master, so we can use it for reference indeed. Chinyu says with a shake of his head, "In Ziationists, power is everything. But the longer I stay in this world, the more tired I feel in my heart. Reading these books can make me feel a bit more relaxed." Chinyu unconsciously reveals his weakness in front of his father. Chinyu is very strong. A brat who has just arrived overseas as a Zuyoist has actually reached his current level. This is indeed an unbelievable thing. You should also take a good rest. Don't fight anymore." Chinda comforts him. "Fight? Father, I don't want to fight. It's others who force me to fight. In the overseas Xiuyao world, if others want to kill me, I have to kill them if I don't want to be killed." Chinyu takes a deep breath. Chinda naturally understands this principle. For a while he is speechless. "I've always believed in a saying. The weak are controlled by their thoughts. As for the strong, they instead allow their actions to control their thoughts." Chinyu's expression grew resolute. "When I'm sad and in pain, I sing loudly instead. When I'm afraid, I press forward courageously. When I'm powerless, I recall my past successes and summon up my courage to work hard again. I definitely can't let my thoughts control my actions. Once I do, I'll probably be dead already." Chinyu's eyes glitter. "In the underwater Xiuyao world, I originally didn't want to kill. But I knew that if I was soft-hearted, I definitely wouldn't be able to control my subordinates and would instead suffer a backlash. Therefore, I had to be strong and indifferent. When I was being hunted down and running for my life by myself, when I felt lonely and weak, I could only recall the happy days of the past, the days when I was together with father and brother, so that I could have the strength to continue running for my life. I believed that I'd be able to turn things around one day." Chinyu clenches his fist so tightly that blue veins pop out. Chinyu grabs Chinda's hand. "Letting your thoughts be controlled by your actions, is this against your will?" "I don't know. That day Master died and you and Uncle Feng also lost an arm. At first, I only wanted to kill Dongfang Yu alone. But that Dongfang Nian didn't agree. If I was soft-hearted, perhaps even more people would bully my Qin clan. Therefore, I had to go against my will. I had to be ruthless. Therefore, I massacred everyone." Chinyu's eyes become fierce. "When I was a child, the limit training made me suffer. I didn't want to train, but I forced myself. Every time I surpassed my limit, I felt carefree. It was like a rainbow after a storm. I knew that one day, Father, I'd be satisfied. Father's smile is the rainbow I yearn for the most." Chinyu smiled. He smiled like a child. "Father, the world of Ziationists is really very cruel." Chinyu sighs. Chinda only holds Chinyu's hand, but he can't say anything. "If it wasn't for Uncle Lan, I would have had to continue killing and fighting. Otherwise, even if my relatives were insulted, I wouldn't have been able to take revenge." Chinyu says in a low voice. He is very grateful to Uncle Lan. Because of Uncle Lan, Chinyu can relax a bit and do things according to his will. This is a world of the strong. If he, Chinyu, is not the strongest, then he has to go against his will. Killing, indifference, coldness, bloodlust. I don't want to do it, but I have to. Whenever I'm alone, I feel heartache. But even if I feel heartache, I still have to pretend to be cold and calm in front of others. I have to pretend to smile and have a card up my sleeve. Because I'm the pavilion master, I can't panic, I can't be afraid, I can't be weak. I have to be strong. I have to be indifferent. I have to be ruthless. Chinyu looks at his father and laughs in a low voice, almost crying. "Father, do you know that feeling?" I know. Chinda is also heartbroken. In the past, all the time, even the experts of the Blue Dragon Temple and the Blue River Province, who have lived for several thousand years, or even over 10,000 years, have to admit that Chinyu is a character. He is strong and cold. Even if Mount Tai collapses in front of him, he will still be able to face it with a smile. Azure Dragon, Old Freak Three-Eyed, Reverend Yen Su and Ida. These experts have all spent several thousand years or even 10,000 years in this kind of environment since childhood. It is natural for them to be cold and ruthless. But Qin Yu is different. When he went to the underwater Shouyao world, he was only 20 years old. When he was young, he was accompanied by his relatives. In Misty Villa, he was taught by Grandpa Lien, so Qin Yu is kind-hearted and sentimental. However, the environment forced him to do so. When he was young, in order to improve his power and get his father's approval, he forced himself. In the end, he succeeded and perished together with Wu Xing. Afterwards, when he entered the underwater Shouyao world, he had to go against his will again to adapt to that underwater Shouyao world. The weak let their thoughts control their actions. The strong, on the other hand, allow their actions to control their thoughts. If these words had not been in my heart like a pillar supporting the world in my heart, perhaps I would have been unable to bear that feeling of going against my will and collapsed long ago. Tears glitter in Qin Yu's eyes. He releases the repressed pain in his heart. This makes him basically unable to control his feelings. You Qinda looks at his son. Waves are surging in his heart. You can't hide everything in your heart. Do you understand? Say it out loud. Say it to your father at home, and say it to your close friends outside. You can't keep it all in your heart. Qin Yu takes a deep breath then bursts out laughing. Father, it's my good fortune to have Uncle Lon help me. If Uncle Lon hadn't helped me, it would have been the justice of fate. But life is my own, so I have to be responsible for myself. Qin Yu stands up and opens the door of the room. In the same way, I have to continue to go against my will, because I want to become a strong person. Qin Yu's voice is extremely firm. Qin Yu walks out of the room. He raises his head to look at the bright stars in the sky, but he says in his heart, because I can't tolerate my relatives being humiliated. I can't tolerate my relatives being in pain. So I have to become a strong person who can protect my relatives. Smile, be steady, cold, bloodthirsty. This is who I am. I'm weak and soft-hearted. I can only bury it in my heart. Qin Yu's expression becomes even more resolute. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.